on the recovery.
This is 365 Sports.
Essentially come away with points in this drive.
Tony in the backfield there.
He's got it on the pitch. Tony breaks free. Malachi Tony spinning, scoring.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Got to get to the 8. He's going to take off and run. Mendoza weaves his way first and go diving toward the end zone. Touchdown!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Beck steps up, delivers downfield, intercepted! Jamari Sharp makes the pick that will clinch Indiana's first national championship.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Finally, how are you going to celebrate, Coach?
I'm going to have beer.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Big 12 football releasing their 2026 schedules. That's out. And if you are a favorite, let's say Oklahoma State or Utah, all of them are out. Everybody has dissected them. We'll talk about it a little bit. The big news, of course, was the nugget from yesterday late that the Big 12 football championship game, instead of playing at 11 o'clock on a Saturday, they will play on Friday night and have perhaps their own time, which good for them for trying to find the best time to have eyeballs. I don't mind Saturdays, any game, whatever hour, if it's a game I want to watch, but they move it to Friday. That, to me, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, thank you for your time on 365 Sports was the biggest story of the schedule.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Pac-12's done it on Friday night. Other conferences have too. I'm not sure in the previous iteration what that meant for ratings. I remember watching it on Fox. I didn't really pay attention to what the ratings were the next day on that. So hopefully it's good news for the Big 12. I think that if it's a good game, it'll do fine in TV, and they do get some separation from the other day. And I just thought about it selfishly. If we're going to do the show from there, it's way easier to do it on a Friday than a Saturday. But, yeah, I think that, that is what it is. But it's very interesting that they decided to move that day. I'm curious if it does any good for them or if it hurts them.
I don't really understand it unless there's some sort of a bargaining chip that's in play here of, hey, do us this favor and go play on a Friday night. I do get that if you're saying, well, here's why it makes sense is you get your own sort of place to yourself, but there are other conference title games. They're just not the big conferences on that day. There's a number of them. There's like a handful of games on that Friday. And as you pointed out, that was previously the Pac-12 spot. Now people point to that and go, well, that's the Pac-12's old spot. You know what that means? Well, you're going to turn into the Pac-12 and then your conference is going to die off. And I think that's either just not very funny humor or it's just a bit off base. I don't think it's a dire thing where, oh, now you're playing on a Friday, watch your back, you're about to get stabbed the way the Pac-12 did. But it is a very curious move because you had a really healthy number at 11 a.m. last year. You had a really good number. And now what seems to be happening, and I'm not getting into like conspiracy territory here with the TV networks, but it feels like just based on the initial reaction, like the ACC is getting thrown a major bone here. And so they're going to have the ability to have their own spot, and there won't be any conflicting conference championship games, which you can look at their number last year and say, well, maybe it was the teams involved, and I think to some extent it was. But also you had other game on, and so it bit into your ratings. So now this way, the four power conferences, I suppose, if I'm thinking about it correctly, all have their own time slot that they won't chew each other up at all. So that makes sense. But why would you not just put the ACC on Friday night? Why would you move the Big 12 from where they are?
I think they had a silent bet that whoever got to the championship game, your conference could make the call.
So there was something to this.
I don't know that. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, I just think if you're the Big 12, and this is where you've been now for a while, and I don't love 11 a.m. because it does feel like it sort of gets drowned out by the end of the day. unless you have a team like Texas Tech who got mentioned throughout because they were in the playoff and they were going to be a team that got a bye. So you still got your attention. Although I think in past years, it probably gets kind of pushed to the side as the Big Ten then starts playing and the SEC then starts playing. But I also think on a Friday night that by the time Saturday starts, that's also kind of in the further rear view than the game that was played actually that same day. So it's like, oh, yeah, and by the way, this happened last night. It's like the first thing you mentioned, and then you're like, all right, on to Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, you could look at this a few different ways, but I just found it curious of if it was so important to get the ACC their own time slot, why would you not put them at the Friday night spot since the Big 12 was already at 11 a.m. and has been for quite a while now? So I'm sure there's a reason why your mark was in favor of this. I don't know if there's any business reasons like, hey, you get a little extra money by playing on a Friday night or anything. I don't know. Without knowing the details of how this was arranged, it's hard to have a really fully formed opinion because there might be a couple things involved that you go like, oh, yeah, totally. I would move to Friday for that. But if it's just straight up like, hey, we want to take you and move you and we're putting the ACC here, then I feel like that's a little bit of a different kind of a conversation.
I would love it if all of them just decided, unilateral, like together, hey, why don't we rotate through the Friday night game? So one of us has Friday and then we'll rotate through and we'll do these things. That is not what's happening here. But all we got was, and it's the typical kind of Big 12 your marquee way of like, hey, we're moving to Friday night. Isn't it great news?
Yeah.
And you're like,
and we're playing in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. And you're going to get $100 million.
Yeah. But the only thing we got was, hey, we're going to Friday night. Great. And you're like, is it? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I'm going to give you my feedback. And again, you guys seem to be able to like sometimes go, wait a, and Craig, I understand your point. And Paul, I understand what you're saying. I saw it initially. I was like, I kind of like it. And I understand there's other conferences that are playing. It's not like they're all by themselves, but I kind of like the fact that they'll, of the Power Fours, now make sure it's a big game, whether it's at 11 on Saturday or Friday night or whatever. I did reach out to Matt Enser from the Big 12 because did you guys see a quote from anybody? A part of the conference on it?
Never looked for one.
No, I didn't. I did not see that. I just saw that the report from late yesterday
But I
evening.
also haven't seen any of like the Big 12, usual like cheerleaders being like, yay!
I don't know. I've seen, I think probably most people are kind of like me and just sort of wondering why you're moving from where you were when, especially, like I said, this past year, you had a really successful rating, and it stands to reason that that's a pretty good chance that could be your rematch for the foreseeable future. So if you're pulling in several million people for that game, why would you want to move off of that? But, again, maybe they're getting some sort of little side thing out of this that's, hey, do us this favor and move off this so we can have a better schedule for everybody. We don't have a couple games conflicting with each other, biting into each other's ratings. But then at the same time, what do we hear? But we can't have the national championship on Friday night, even though it makes way more sense to do it on a Monday night. Why can't we do it on a Friday night, I ask all the time. Oh, the ratings suck on Friday night compared to Saturday or to Monday night. Oh, well, now you've convinced me this is a great move then, if that's the case. So, yeah, I don't think from that perspective, if that's really true, that makes all the sense in the world to go from a spot where you got a healthy number to then a Friday night where it's apparently a night where they don't even want to play the national championship game because it's not a good night for live sports compared to Monday night or Saturday night or whatever. So I don't know. There's that part of it as well. And, I think that you can also look at it from the bright spot and say, okay, it's their own stage. So, yeah, they do have that. If you want to look at it from the optimistic, like this is a great move, this is a great idea by Brett Yormark, then the way to start with that would be to say, yeah, they have their own slot. There's they have their own night almost, even though there's several other championship games. They're just not the SEC or the ACC or whatever that you'll have also on that slate. So I guess if you look at it from that standpoint, sure, it's your night to some degree. But beyond that, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, from in the chat room, this is from Paxton. I'm with Craig. I don't get it. Let me see if there's a couple of other responses. Friday nights will be less viewers with high school football.
Well, also the part about the travel. Yeah. I mean, the traveling part of it for fans.
I would rather have the Friday night game than the 11 o'clock game as a fan who goes to the game. That's from T.D. Fisher.
On December 4th, the high school football thing doesn't hold as much
Not in
water
Texas. Not in
because by
Texas.
that time you've trimmed the herd quite a bit.
Because that's usually the fourth round of the playoffs, and there's hardly any games going on. And they usually start to slow that down inside AT&T Stadium until the championship week.
Yeah, I don't want to confuse people here. This is not the biggest deal in the world, so I'm just like I got some energy at the start of the show. So this is something that I find kind of interesting because I'm sort of puzzled by it. But yeah, you're right that for some people that don't want to get up at like 9 a.m. to go and tailgate at 10 a.m. for an hour and then go to the 11 a.m. game. That's not for everybody. You want to party in Dallas the night before or whatever. But I also think getting people to a game for Friday night is also a bit more of a hassle traveling wise for those people coming in from the state of Utah or from Iowa or from Oklahoma. You suddenly don't have like that buffer travel day. You're now having to leave like on, you know what I mean? That's not we don't all need to be concerned about that. So that's just like taking into consideration why this might not be great for everybody. So, hey, everybody's got their own feeling. They'd rather tailgate later. They'd rather get in earlier and out earlier, to each their own. But yeah, I'd love to know what you gave them to do this.
I will if I get a response. Keilani, I think the fact the ACC plays their game indoors or outdoors maybe has something to do with it. I'm not sure if he read something about that. Somebody else brought up again high school football bracket cat. And it's pretty simple. SEC is ESPN's number one love. ACC because they're ESPN exclusive. And Big 12 brings up the rear, no matter records, etc., because they are not exclusive ESPN, but they are a customer of ESPN.
That's an interesting point to make. But I also just thought of this, like part of the reason maybe we haven't seen an excited response is because this is just something that had to happen, and they're announcing it just being like, oh, by the way, it's on Friday night, because the Big 12 may be apoplectic about this.
It's just weird because you just had your most successful conference title game you've ever had at 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and there's plenty of reason to believe that that same scenario could happen several times in the next few years. Now, I think other schools are going to have something to say about that. Nobody's just rolling over and dying for the Red Raiders and Cougars by any means, but you can feel in the air that they're going to have strong chances to play each other in that game, and they show that you can have a very successful turnout. So, I'm sure this was a TV network decision ultimately. It typically is. And when Brett Yormark gets asked about this at some point in time, maybe at Pro Day, if they do that again this year, I guess would be probably the first time we see him in a while, then maybe we can ask him about this. But yeah, initially my reaction to this was why? Why are you moving from where you've been and where you just had a really good number and onto a Friday night where it just kind of seems like it's a bit more awkward than your typical Saturday slate. Right. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
It is interesting, but they did move it, and so we'll see if I get a response to why. So there we are with that. Now, the schedule releases out. If you have a team, again, you know or have probably seen it. We're not going to show all 16 graphics. A couple of other interesting notes about the schedule, though, is there's another game in Dublin. TCU's playing North Carolina. We've known that. That's at the end of August. And Kansas and Arizona State will be in London at Wembley Stadium. That game in mid-September. The rivalry games will be the 7th week, and yet I'm not sure if all the rivalries can play at the same time during the week.
No, Arizona State's at the end of the year.
Yep. Well, and I think that's protected because that's the way that has probably been for a long, long time.
Well, that's one of the protected rivalries.
Yeah.
The problem is with the rivalries is that they're not all protected to the extent that people want them protected, and it's not all on a rivalry weekend jumbled together the way people would like, for example, Utah BYU to be at the end of the year. Instead, it's whatever it is, like week 9 or something like that.
It's the same week as the rivalry game scheduled to begin week 7 with K-State, Kansas. TCU, Baylor, BYU, and Utah will meet in Salt Lake City during week 7 as well. And then, of course, you said Arizona State Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, so I guess they're just splitting it up, but instead of having a traditional, I think when people think of rivalry weekend, you think of a Saturday, right, where it's all the same rivalry games that are being played. So you'd have Utah, BYU, Baylor, TCU, Arizona State, et cetera. I'm sure there's reasons why you can't do that. But, yeah, I mean, those have been the protected rivalries for the last couple of years. I know, though, that there's definitely a desire amongst some of the Holy War fans to have that at the end of the schedule. And maybe I'm missing out on those that like it the way that it is. But that's definitely a conversation we've had a couple times over these last 2 years is the Big 12's treatment of their rivalries and kind of how they present all of that and how they selected all of that, because there was obviously the big I don't know about big, but there was, well, what about Iowa State and Kansas? What about this or what about that? And they kind of stuck with the in-state rivalries more than anything. I understand you can't have everything protected, but I do think it would be cool if like that final weekend was all of those games, Arizona State, the revivalry. I'm going to call it that, even though it's not the official bastardized, trademarked corporate name that they gave to it. But the rivalry is what I'll refer to it as. I don't know. I'm kind of hot and cold on Farmageddon being permanent, but I know that's the big one that people kind of debate over when it comes to protected in the Big 12. So yeah, I guess they're just going to kind of have that Week 7 sort of just right there in the middle. I guess I don't know.
Bulls fan saying like the schedule is strange. They don't have the 3 Eastern Big 12 schools playing each other this year, which would be UCF, West Virginia, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that are not playing each other this year. It's an algorithm, and if you could try to do that, it may take forever. But you have people who that's their job, and you would think that to me, and again, this is selfish, that all the Texas schools should always play each other every year. But then again, it might lead to a different balance of a schedule. But TCU, Tech, and Houston and Baylor, you would think all of them would play, and yet Houston was out of the conference and not a part of any of that since the Big 12 formed in 1996. All right, now a couple of other notes.
Well, I haven't looked. I got to look again, but this is a good. If you like watching Texas teams play each other, Tech plays all of them. So I think Baylor does too. So yeah, and then I'm looking for TCU and Houston here. And if that's the case, then that would be all the way around. Yeah, the only one that we don't get this year is TCU versus Houston. Otherwise, they do play each other.
They're going to eventually, sometimes just get splattered because of the way that's set up.
Houston.
Yeah, but last year we Texas Tech Baylor is a great rivalry. Even though Texas Tech, Baylor's won that game a couple of times in Lubbock when it was kind of surprising. Then Tech won the last time in Waco, and that's where they'll play this fall. Now, a couple of other notes in college football. The college football season ended on Monday night. And so Kirk Cignetti was asked about this team. And again, you keep hearing about how come Indiana has been so successful. And he mentioned that by winning this year, perhaps now people will look back at what they did in 2024 when they were kind of they got blown out early by Notre Dame in the playoff game. Maybe put some respect on what they did even a year ago.
The other thing I'd like to add, I think, there's just answered about Indiana. I think that's called a paradigm shift. It's kind of like people can cling to an old way of thinking, categorizing teams as this or that, or conferences as this or that, or they can adjust to the new world. The shift of the power balance, the way college football is today. So, I think to look back at what happened to Indiana previous to us coming 10, 20, 50 years ago, strictly lacked a commitment from the top. That's it, plain and simple, nothing else. And we have a commitment, okay? And the other thing I'd like to say also is this. This team went all the way. This was chapter 2 in the book, okay? And very close team, special team. The first team never got the national credit it was due because of the controversy over the playoffs, the way we played the last 2.5 quarters against Ohio State and Notre Dame. That team got it all started, never trailed till the 9th game of the year. And when they did up at Michigan State, 10-0 first quarter, scored 47 straight. Started out 10-0, but never really got its due. And that was a special team.
Yeah, sometimes when you're not supposed to be there, then you are, and then it doesn't finish well. Yeah, okay. And then they come back and run the table this year. I like what he said to hey, by the way, 2024, we were pretty good too. We made the playoff. A lot of others didn't. And there's Kirk Cignetti. When he says something, he is definitive, he is emphatic, and he also seems to always make sense. But right now, everything he does seems to make sense.
Yeah, and he's right. They probably didn't get enough credit. And a lot of that is due in large part to the fact that they won the schedule lottery in year one of the Super Big Ten. And because they won that schedule lottery and they were already good, it made it seem like, okay, maybe they weren't all the way there yet. And then year two, they clean up those deficiencies, play a tougher schedule, and pretty much destroy everybody except for two teams on their schedule, which are the two best games, and left no doubt that they were the best team in the country.
I mean, yeah, I don't have much to say on this outside of it's good for him to point that out and good for him to give some credit to that first team. I think Indiana's getting plenty of praise and plenty of flowers right now, so it's cool for him to take a moment to try to spread the love a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, they helped get it started just like before 0-1 Miami, there was a Miami team that got that started. I mean, that's nothing that's nothing new that's specific to Indiana, but that was the team that kind of kickstarted it. And he's right; they kind of got pushed to the side, and a lot of people, including myself, wondered if it was a bit of a fluke and whether it was a bit of a one-off. And clearly, it wasn't. It was the starting point. If anything, we'll see where Team 3 and 4 and all that takes them. But good on him for pointing that out and. Like I said, giving some credit to guys who aren't getting to experience this chapter where it's all of the roses and all of the flowers and all of the love. So, yeah, good for him.
All right. Now, when the season ends, we know the champion. We know they beat Miami. Indiana did. But there was still a final poll from the Associated Press. And here it is. There's the image of everybody ranked in the top 25 with Indiana at number 1 all the way down. Part of this poll, though, go to number 9. Now, Alabama did beat Oklahoma in the playoff, but they were crushed by Indiana. They moved up 2 spots to number 9. They had 4 losses. Now, there's going to have teams like Miami had 3 losses. They're number 2, and Ole Miss had. But it's just kind of amazing that they would move up a couple after getting drilled 38-3, whatever that score was against Indiana.
Yeah, and look, everything behind them is really hard to judge because of the way bowl games are now with opt-outs. Notre Dame didn't play in a postseason game, so they pretty much locked themselves into wherever they were going to be.
They dropped 1.
Yeah, and so they dropped 1. Basically, they gave Alabama a spot, and then BYU gave them a spot by not really playing all that well in their last couple games. So I think that's probably it there.
Yeah, I don't have much thoughts on this. Okay. Yeah, I mean, on the Alabama thing specifically, I mean, good for the teams that had historic finishes. I mean, that's a big deal for North Texas, and good to see, a handful of Big 12 schools that you didn't know how good they might be, like a Houston, for example, having a really nice finish. JMU and Tulane still getting to claim the top 25 finishes as something kind of positive to end the year as opposed to all of the negative talk that they got. I mean, talk about Indiana the year prior getting some backlash for how their season ended. How about Tulane and James Madison just being treated like aliens from another planet and undeserving of even playing this American football game that we all so love? I mean, they got treated like absolute trash by a lot of people out there who love college football, in parentheses. And it's one thing to feel like they don't deserve to be in this spot or whatever. It's another thing to basically call them like special ed kids. I mean, in a way, I mean, that's how it felt sometimes watching people talk about them. And I just felt that's just symbolic of kind of social media and stuff like that. So it's not a big deal in the long run, but good for them to have something to look back on. That was a positive finish and a nice top 20 ending. And, Virginia, good year for them. Vandy finishing top 15, good for them. Handful of Big 12 schools. I mean, BYU right there on the precipice of the top 10, and then Texas Tech with a historic finish for them. So the polls are what you make of them. You can think they're silly and foolish and want to talk about how terrible they are week in and week out, and we certainly saw a lot of that this year in college football, especially early on. But they also can be historic finishes and the best you've ever done and symbolic of the year that you had, and I think it's a mixed bag right here. But I'm mostly, I guess, just kind of thinking about it from the perspective of your UNTs and teams like that, where regardless of what you think of the poll, it's still a big deal for those programs to have a top 25 finish.
How many teams in that top 25 are from the state of Texas?
Like 5 of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tech and A&M,
6,
Texas,
actually.
And then you also have Houston and North Texas and TCU. So there are 6 teams, 6 programs from the state of Texas that are in the top 25. I don't know if they've ever done that before. Any age, any decade, any era, any conference, the way it was aligned. That's pretty cool. And Navy in at 23 because they closed pretty strong as well.
They're not from Texas?
No, I'm just saying because I just wanted to bring up Navy. I love Navy. You know that.
Yeah, can't just be tight. You got to throw in the extracurricular there. But yeah, that's 6 teams. I'm sure there's a stat out there that I guarantee somewhere on Twitter
Mike
that's
Craven
out there.
Said it was the first time ever.
Yeah, so I'm sure that's something that's out there. And if Mike Craven says it is, then I'm sure that's correct. And yeah, that's nice to have some Texas teams represented. This a very proud state when it comes to football. So it was a pretty damn good year from that standpoint. I mean, TCU was a very quiet top 25 team, I feel like. Houston finally got like their just due, I think, when it turned out of like, oh, this isn't just the schedule or this isn't them just kind of being able to win a close game. It's like, no, they're taking this from wire to wire. And this is Houston under Willie Fritz. Texas had a nice, strong finish. A&M, good year, and Texas Tech obviously a historic year. So yeah, and then UNT historic year and great run. Don't know when they'll ever be back in the top 25. So yeah, it was a really good year for fans of football in the state of Texas for sure.
All right, so there we are with that. Now, do we have the way too early top 25? Did you get that, Brandon? Thank you, sir. Here it is. You're going to see what you probably thought. Now, there's a couple of infiltrators because of what happened this year and with the momentum when it comes to recruiting with Tech and Indiana at 7 and 8. But there you are, Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Oregon, Notre Dame. A lot of love for Notre Dame. I've seen them as high as even 2 or 3 in some cases. There's going to be other way too early polls, Paul and Craig. But there we are, BYU at 12 and Houston right there getting some love along with Utah.
Well, Notre Dame doesn't really lose that much, and they bring back their quarterback. They didn't have to, for the first time in a long time, the last couple of years, they haven't had to go in the transfer portal for a quarterback. They've been able to just ride it out, which is what Georgia has been able to do. They just kind of go from guy to guy to guy that they develop, and that's really nice. Ohio State does that a little bit, I guess, but with Julian Sayin is from the portal, but he was barely at Alabama. So all these teams, if you look at the top 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the top 6 all have returning quarterbacks. Julian Sayin, Arch Manning, Gunnar Stockton, Dante Moore, CJ Carr, and Marcel Reed. And then, you get into kind of a hodgepodge of all the rest for the rest of the top 25. I think Miami it's going to be interesting because they have to replace Bain and Mesidor, who were the really driving forces of that team. And obviously getting Darian Mensah, whenever that does happen, will maybe buoy them a little bit more. But right now they have a question of when is that going to happen? I guess there's a slight chance that it might not happen, although I doubt that. And then how do you replace some of those stars that you are losing and guys that will jump because of the heat that's on them right now at Miami and want to capitalize on it? But they, still should be very good.
I think the first thing that pops out to me is Alabama at 15. I mean, I don't know the last time I saw them that low to start a preseason poll, and maybe it's happened somewhat recently, and
it'll change before they get to that first one in August.
But
believe me,
that starting point right there in the middle is awfully low compared to what we've watched for like the last 20 years or so. So yeah, that's something that just pops out is you don't automatically have Alabama lumped in with Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia like they typically would be. So yeah, that's a sign of just how times have changed a little bit. And beyond that, like you said, all the starting quarterbacks returning for the top 6 teams, and then the next 2 have the most high-profile transfer quarterbacks, or 2 of the most high-profile transfer quarterbacks. We'll see if Miami, if they get Mensah, then I think you could even possibly argue about bumping them up a spot or 2. I guess I don't know how much they assume they're getting Mensah with this ranking. Like, is this baked into this? Because if not, then I could see where you drop them a little bit maybe with the uncertainty there. But, yeah, I think Kiffin at 14 at LSU is going to be a fascinating story. And then, the rest of it is James Franklin, Virginia Tech, already putting some expectations on their shoulders. I'm really interested in that rebuild or reload or however you want to categorize that, I suppose. And SMU getting some love, man. They've been steady Eddie since joining the ACC. They didn't finish in that record-breaking Texas top 25 we just talked about a second ago.
Yeah, think about that, yeah.
But they weren't that far off, really. And I do think that Rhett Lashley's done a great job there. So they're starting to get that annual respect of they're going to be one of the best teams in the ACC and a borderline top 25 team every year. So that's a nice step forward for their program. And, yeah, I mean, the rest of it, I mean, we could take the rest of the show to do it. But I guess from a Big 12 perspective, since we typically touch on that, Tech at 7, that's a nice starting point. I think given the quarterbacks returning at all those other schools, that's fair. And I think it's still very, very respectable starting off just outside the top 5. BYU at 12 is kind of their max point. It feels like they're going to have to now earn their way.
There's like a demilitarized zone for them. Yeah.
They don't really get past that. They maybe get close to 10, but they don't really get inside there. So that's going to be their goal next season. I have no idea what to expect with Utah and Scally, but Devin Dampier coming back, Bird Ficklin coming back. You can see why you think that they don't skip too much of a beat. And great for Houston to get that Willie Fritz respect and love that they deserve, man. They went out and had a really great year. Wegman's back. A lot of guys are back. And so I think that, they absolutely deserve to get a little preseason respect.
Missouri at 17, and we looked at last year. They ended up ranked or whatever, and they were 8-5, did not beat anybody that was ranked. I believe that was the case last year, but they're at 17. And then, of course, you got Sellers at South Carolina, so you get nudge them inside the top 25. Also, so there's the way too early. There's a bunch of these. This just happened to be one of them. So what are the odds that teams, your favorite team, will win the national championship, not get in the playoff, not play for the championship, but win it? And here are the odds. And the love for Texas, which was there last year. Oh, by the way, Alabama, last time they were ranked anywhere like that, they were 24th. They were 24th, I believe, in 2008 to start the season. It's been that long, the Saban factor. Texas, there you are. Indiana, 3rd with Notre Dame. And then there's the rest of the list. Texas Tech is inside the top 10. A&M just outside the number 10. And then you have even teams in the Big 12, including you have Utah there, BYU there, but Tech holding the banner for right now as the early who can win it all next year.
I don't know anything about gambling in the way that most people in our space seem to now. But I would tell you that I would not bet on the national championship right now for anything, given the fact that nothing we've seen the last 2 years in college football about who is the favorite really ends up being true anymore. So for Texas's sake, for their people, they better hope that that's right. But it's almost kind of a kiss of death now that when you're picked as the favorite, because there's so much chaos, it's so hard to do that it's just like a ticking clock for you.
Based on my experience, most of the people talk about sports betting don't know sports betting either, but they are sponsored by sports betting and therefore, I guess, have that ability to come off as somebody who knows about sports betting. But, yeah, in my experience, that is very hit or miss on who actually knows what they're talking about. But it's like a confidence thing. You just act confident in what you're talking about. And, well, he sounds like he knows what he's doing here. I'm going to take the Mets to win the World Series this year. But, I think when it comes to this, I mean, it's fodder for next year more than anything. And for the gamblers out there, then, yeah, sure, this is maybe really appetizing to jump on, let's see, A&M at 16-1 and throw down some money because you feel like they got close and maybe they're going to take it a step further next year, or any of the other options that you have in front of you. Not my forte, so I can't speak to what would be good or bad to pursue right here. But Indiana not really missing too much of a beat based on this. And I know this isn't saying these are going to be the best teams guaranteed next year.
No.
But Indiana just getting that level of respect where you go, yeah, I can see them running it back again. Why the hell not? Like, Josh Hoover's a really good quarterback. I mean, that's wild that they're there between Ohio State and Notre Dame and Georgia and Texas and LSU and Alabama and so on. It's crazy that they've now built themselves a spot where every year you feel like so long as they've got that head coach, they're going to be right there in the mix. Beyond that, it's the usual suspects. But with Texas and Arch, I mean, there's going to be a lot of build up there. And then the moves they've made so far. But the difference is Arch actually has played a full year now, and he actually looks like he's deserving of all of the love that he's getting. Not that he wasn't completely undeserving of it, but I know for a fact, because I saw it from Texas fans that I follow, that there was the narrative he was going to win the Heisman, and then when it was appeared he wasn't, it was like, no, you guys.
Yeah.
After you're
the one that propped him up.
Y'all are the ones. It's like, dude, you wrote 50 articles this offseason about how he's the greatest quarterback. I saw that from multiple places. So this year I get it, because last year I got it to an extent. I thought it was a bit premature. And then I thought it was funny to see that, no, that's not what we said. We said it's next year. Well, now it's next year, and now it is deserving. And
it would be very disappointing if he did not win the Heisman. There's 3 or 4 others that are in the mix, and probably 2 or 3 others we don't even know who they are right now.
He's one of those players that if they don't win a national title or a Heisman, then it's I don't know that it's a failure, but if they don't win an SEC title at the bare minimum, they got to collect some hardware while he's there. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's there for a 4th year, but I don't mean just bowl trophies. I mean like something substantial that's big and center of the trophy case. So I think he's the overwhelming favorite, even though there's Julian Sayin and various others. I'm sure Hoover will get a lot of love now that he's at Indiana. Levitt at LSU with Kiffin will get a lot of love, I'm sure. But Texas, with what they bring back, with Arch taking a big step forward, with the players they've now put around him through the portal, I can see it. And I can see why they would be a favorite. And I also know they got a lot of fans that I'm sure like, give me that 6-1 odds, baby. This is the year for Arch. So, we're going to get another offseason of the Texas hype train, but at least it's a bit more understandable this year.
I obviously, they've upgraded at places in the portal. They've got some production coming there, production and potential we haven't quite seen from Cam Coleman because he's been limited with who's throwing in the ball. I think that if he's completely engaged.
Cole Kublik will have a word with you. It's not always the quarterback.
It's not always the quarterback. It might be him, but I would say that for the most part, if I'm a wide receiver who's going to be a diva wide receiver one day, if you were throwing out Peyton Thorne and Jackson Arnold to me as my guys and Ashton Daniels, I might get a little sullen myself. Not to say that the maturity wasn't a little bit low, but I think for Texas, the key to me is it's not all the skill guys, because we know Hollywood Smothers is good and Raleek Brown is good and Cam Coleman and Wingo and all these guys that they have. For Arch Manning, for them to really win with Arch Manning, it's going to be about those 5 guys in front of him who were not good enough this year, and that has to improve. And if that improves, I mean, this was a 9-3 team without a very good offensive line. It can be really, really good with an offensive line.
Yeah, it's easy to see why they're going to be hyped up, and like I said, I think it's clear and it's deserving. As opposed to maybe some years where it's like, it's a placeholder thing for some programs. And it's not just exclusive to them. I mean, it's to others. I think we're finally starting to go like, maybe we don't put Alabama automatically in the top 5. Like we've reached that point now. So for Texas, they're loaded for bear. And I think that that's a logical choice for next year, just like a lot of the others that are surrounding them. I do find it interesting that Utah is better favored, has better odds than BYU. And I'm not quite sure why, because I get the whole Devin Dampier, Bird Ficklin thing, but beyond that, they are changing head coaches, and I understand it's the head coach that's been there and is a Utah Ute through and through, and there's nobody that bleeds more Utah red than Morgan Scalley, but I don't know why you necessarily favor them over BYU at this point in time, given that BYU's had their number, given that they return every single thing from last year's team, including some guys that could have gone pro. So that's interesting. I'll just be curious to know the kind of reasoning why there.
I think that after about the first 10 or 15, they just start throwing names in
Maybe
there.
So.
Yeah, like there's a group of 12 of them that are all about the same. If you go down a little bit further, which you can if you want to by getting on Bet Online, there's like a bunch of teams at 200 to 1 or 100 to 1 or even 500 to 1.
And to be clear, we are not anti-Utah.
No.
Now, I do feel like some of your fans can definitely give you a bad image sometimes, and maybe they're just BYU fans in disguise or Arizona fan pretending to be Utah guy or something. But, I mean, we give Utah its due respect, but with what BYU's bringing back, that's kind of curious.
Let's do a couple of stories that involve Mississippi. One of them, Prince Will Uman Milan, is transferring. He was at Ole Miss. He's headed to LSU. This is not a surprise whatsoever. had 51 quarterback pressures last year to lead the conference, had 9 sacks. He's a dude. He actually started in Lincoln and then moved to Ole Miss, was really good, and he now will play and follow his former head coach to LSU.
The Uman Milan brothers just love Lane Kiffin.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
love Lane Kiffin. So, yeah, Princely, Prince Will, all of them.
Yeah.
I'm sure if there's another Uman Milan brother, I know who's got the inside track.
Yeah. Now, the other part of Ole Miss, which is the Trinidad Chambliss, and yes, we're going to get to the Alabama basketball eligibility thing later in the show, but so Trinidad Chambliss wants another year, and it looks like now it wasn't going to happen. Well, he's got an appeals committee meeting, in fact, going on today, and Chris Hummer, who was on with us just yesterday, said there's now optimism within the program that he will eventually be granted an injunction by the court in Mississippi to allow him to play. Now, how that ends up, I don't know, but it appears as if I thought this was dead and buried, but nothing anymore in college football with eligibility seems to be it's the story, end of story, dot.
Well, his appeal was denied in Indianapolis by the NCAA.
Which is where they are.
And Tom Mars has made it clear that process was just about whatever the NCAA interpreted as their rules, and he is going to argue or has argued maybe already, and we'll see successfully or not, that the year in question where he didn't play and had an injury, but Ferris State didn't file a medical red shirt on him, was not Trinidad Chambliss's fault, and that he should be granted that year of eligibility based on the things said in that report that they got about why his eligibility would be up. So we'll see what happens, but I think that filing it in Mississippi gives him – he could file it maybe in any other state. Filing it in Mississippi certainly helps him a little bit, and the fact that it's a court that's just going to interpret this based on the letter of the law or the readings of how the law goes now, I would say I'd be optimistic that the court rules in his favor.
Big part of the reason why none of this stuff can get done is because you just take it to your home state court with your Homer alumni judges, and they basically give you a break. Is basically how this works, right? Every single time. Yeah. So you said that in Virginia, but we're taking this to Tennessee. We'll get the Tennessee judge. Like, that's what it feels like. Just happens every time now. It's like that's why nothing ever is on the same page, because you and then look, I know that works in legal situations well outside of this as well. You want home turf, right? In some cases, or you want to get off of home turf for reasons, but. Yeah, I mean, the local judge helping out the local team, I feel like we've seen that a good bit here in these first few years. Now, it's all on the up and up. It is what it is. It just kind of feels like this is why we run into a wall 1,000 times every time we try to get something done. I think, too, I don't know if you said it exactly the way he said it, but Tom Mars telling somebody how they're interpreting the things that they said is funny to me. Mm-hmm. So Ole Miss interpreting their rules – that's not the interpret. It's what their rules are, right? Like it's not their interpretation. It's what they said and what they believe and how they're operating. So I don't know. I just find that phrasing kind of funny there.
Which is all this also to mention that is why the CSC is not going to work until they fix that provision, because they all have to agree to not sue each other and all this. Right. Well, that's not going to stop.
Yeah, these are the rules that you wrote and that you're putting your backing behind, and I'm saying this is how you're interpreting your own rules that you created. Like, that's a weird way to phrase that. But on the Chambliss thing, I read a few weeks ago, and I don't know, maybe there's more to the story, but the whole thing with Ferris State was, they didn't file anything, and I don't believe they felt they needed to, because I don't think he was really hurt based on their lack of filing. I think what we might have here, and we'll see in due time, is, that he wasn't as hurt as they're now portraying he was. And this wasn't like, oh, my God, he can't play, we need the medical red shirt. They didn't care about the medical red shirt until he suddenly needed a medical red shirt. It wasn't a problem last year. It wasn't a problem 2 years ago. Now that he stands to make a bunch of money, remember that year I was hurt? Ferris State's like, no. We have no documentation of you being all that hurt or having to miss games because of your injury. And so I think that the Chambliss side of things is kind of maybe trying to rewrite history in their favor a little bit, and I don't blame them, because I know that he stands to make a lot of money, and so therefore they do too. But, based on what I was reading from Ferris State, this wasn't like they forgot to fill out the paperwork. I don't think they ever thought this was going to be an issue or was a thing until all of a sudden he needed it to be a thing. and needed to be looked at as a redshirt type of a year. But he did not play much at all in that year, to their point. So they do have that in their favor of like, look, see how good he is. Like, he would have been playing if he was healthy. So, yeah, this is throw this on the stack of cases. It's like the sitcom of the lawyer's desk or the whoever's desk, and it's paper files like up to your eyeballs, and that's basically the NCAA offices right now for all intents and purposes.
So we'll hear that ruling at some point, and then I'm sure whether it goes one way or the other, it will probably be appealed. We'll see what happens. Ari Temkin from Big 12 Radio will join us today, along with Zack Gelb today, and discuss. Ari will look at how he looked at the Big 12 and may bring up the Friday night championship game too.
Yeah, I think we need to, because he works for the Big 12, so maybe he's got some insight that we don't have. And the rivalry week thing, you listed off a couple of the games. It sounded to me like I read it wrong and that they were all on a single weekend, and just sans Arizona State. No, Utah BYU is like the week after the rivalry week.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, I thought you said they were all on the same day, that week 7. They're not, so it's all split up over like 3 different weekends, which, again, that's just to the point I was talking about of how they don't care about rivalry weekend the way that I think some fans care about rivalry weekend. They don't care about having one big blow-off on like the final Saturday. Clearly, they don't care about that. Now, maybe it's not just your marketing company. Maybe it's also Fox and ESPN, and they don't want all those games on the same weekend. I'm not sure, but yeah, we can talk to Ari about that. And for Trinidad Chambliss, I'd love to see him play another year.
I would selfishly want to see that too.
From a fan standpoint, I would like to see him. From somebody who follows college football, there's also part of me, it's like, I'm tired of you guys suing for extra years of eligibility. So we'll see where this goes.
Well, it's just part of, like we said, it's every day. Now, when we come back, Ari Temkin, his thoughts about the Big 12 schedule. It's a release, and other conferences will do that too. But what kind of jumped out at him? That's next. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. And in fact, I have been in touch with him this week because you may have hit the cough button. You can still hear me because Craig or Paul or both their mics are live, and it's just been kind of annoying, a dry cough. He set me up with a prescription, went by and picked it up yesterday, and it's been better, although I'm sure it'll creep back in. But he also is your family doctor if that's what you want to. He does treat low testosterone level in men. One of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. Energy is one of them, sex drive, performance, etc. Contact PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell them I sent you. They'll set you up to get your blood done, get the blood drawn. They'll get the results. And if your testosterone level is too low, they can offer you a program so you can become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, used to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
It's my go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf car batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months, plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Bold are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
Marco's only uses premium toppings, which means your pizza isn't just flavorful, it's mushroom-full, or sausage-full, or pepperoni-full. And you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas from the place named America's favorite pizza chain, starting at $8.99 every day, only at Marco's.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years, and let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery,
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
365 Sports with Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak, and Ari Temkin from Big 12 Radio on TuneIn joins us. Ari, thank you. The schedule released and a couple of nuances that jumped out. And let's start with the championship game being moved to Friday. What have you heard the reasoning for that?
I haven't heard anything specifically. The one thing, though, that I did seem to get some clarification on is it will be on Friday in 2026 and then alternate between Friday and Saturday moving forward. I think the reality is this is a really positive move for the Big 12 for a couple of reasons. And there may be, and this is anything I've been told, a little bit of jockeying with ESPN to allow kind of the ACC into that spot so that they're not competing head to head with the Big 10 championship, because in previous years, ESPN's ACC championship and ABC's ACC championship, I should say, have gone head to head with the Big 10 and Fox in that primetime slot on Saturday nights. So what this appears to be doing is moving another primetime window into Friday night and then allowing the ACC to slip into that early morning window to not compete directly with the Big 10. But I did again hear, and I believe it was Mike Leslie actually that mentioned this during the schedule release this morning, that will actually alternate starting in 2027. So it's not a permanent Friday fixture. It is going to be Friday, Saturday alternating, and I'm assuming that will be with the ACC. But look, I mean, 11 a.m., it's an early kickoff. You know, I don't know how much of a difference it means in terms of attendance or watchability, but it certainly seems like being the only game in town on a Friday night when, you know, at that point in time, I think the audience is sort of used to watching games, you know, on Fridays and stuff. I actually think this is a really good positive move for the Big 12.
Yeah, it was just weird to not hear anything about it, right? Like what the reasoning was. Hearing it from you, that's great. Like that way we know, but it just, when you say jockeying, it maybe felt like the office, like, all right, we're going to Friday night, but you know, we'll just tell everybody and then we don't have to really say anything about it.
Well, I mean, did you want like a full explanation of why they're moving?
No, I know. It was just kind of surprising because the way that things have been announced in the Yormark administration have always come with some pomp and circumstance. And this was like, hey, the schedule. By the way, the Champions game's on Friday night.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It was kind of like slid in there with the news around the championship. And, you know, as somebody that does meet regularly with the Big 12, though I don't work directly for them, you know, we were tipped off to the schedule release on Wednesday a couple of weeks ago, but we're not tipped off to this news. So to your point, it was a bit odd. But again, I don't know that I don't think this is a bad thing. You know, there just aren't many good windows left if it's Friday night or 11 a.m. on Saturday. And for me, I see pros and cons of both, but I see probably more pros with a Friday night game than I do with the Saturday morning game.
Yeah, Ari, I think it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I looked at it from the standpoint of you've been in that 11 a.m. spot for a while. You had the best number you've had ever in this last go-round at 11 a.m. with Tech and BYU, and if you're accommodating the ACC, then move them to Friday night. Why do you have to move from where you've been all this time? That's just what was kind of confusing to me. But the rotation part of this, which we have not heard that, if that's the case, then that makes things make a lot more sense. As far as the schedules themselves, clearly not everybody's going to get what they want. There's no like main rivalry weekend to end the year like I know fans kind of dream up. It's sort of split up over the course of several weekends. Some teams obviously can't play others. What stood out to you? Like anything in particular, any team in particular, any weekend in particular, like when it comes to what we saw earlier today?
So I think, and I heard you guys briefly talking in the last segment about this. So I think when it comes to rivalry stuff, you know, this is probably a good thing for the Big 12 because, you know, rivalry weekend as we, you know, search for opportunities for good windows for the Big 12 to kind of be by itself, rivalry games up against the Iron Bowl and some of these other iconic rivalries, right. Michigan, Ohio State, maybe it's in the best interests of the Big 12 to not park all of their rivalry games the same weekend, to kind of space out, some of those intriguing matchups. Because, when you're thinking about this from a national audience perspective, Craig, I mean, I think, rivalries are going to move the needle. Rivalry games, BYU, Utah, those are games, Arizona State, it's going to move the needle. Kansas State, that will have some sort of a national perspective. So, I'm with you in terms of like, man, I remember, the last week of the regular season was always rivalry weekend. It's Michigan, Ohio State, it's Auburn, Alabama, it's Clemson, in South Carolina, it's Florida State, so I'm with you on that, Florida State, Florida. But it feels like from a Big 12 perspective right now, you're trying to search for other opportunities to draw a national audience, and that's probably the reason for it. I think the things that stand out about the schedule, one bye week, when we've become accustomed to 2 bye weeks, I think that, makes the schedule much more difficult because it's, more protracted. I think, Utah and Texas Tech, I say they probably have the easiest draw, which is interesting. And that's also hard to gauge at this point because we know there's going to be some parity. I do think, though, that this year and moving forward, this league is going to be less about parity. And I think we could probably expect what to expect at the top of the conference. That's not to say there won't be surprise teams, but I feel like we're in a situation now where, we aren't necessarily in a league of parity, which is huge. So when I look at Utah's schedule, I look at Texas Tech's schedule, I think, those are pretty easy schedules relative to the rest. I think Kansas has a really tough schedule. What I immediately go to is like, who are your road games against? And like Kansas has some of the toughest games in the season are all road games. Plus they have to go, to London week 3 to play Arizona State. There's 2 European games with TCU and North Carolina kicking things off in Dublin on week 0, which is a huge game again this year. And then Arizona State and Kansas playing a week 3 matchup, in London, kind of in the middle of the season. I don't know that Kansas State was done any favors by the Dublin trip this year. Maybe it's just a convenient excuse for why their season went south. It didn't seem to bother Iowa State until it did later in the year. But it's hard to attribute what Iowa State's slide was with, corresponding to Dublin. Again, I think it's just searching for reasons. But I think those were kind of the pieces that were top of mind for me as I sort of digested the schedule across the board.
I thought Oklahoma State got a pretty decent for Eric Morris's first year. Yes, non-conference, they host Oregon. That will be interesting. Week 2 out of the gate for them, but
hopefully more interesting than the last meeting between those two teams.
Yeah. Hopefully that's interesting. But their worst road trip is West Virginia, something they've done before. Maybe this group of guys, but that was, to your same point, the toughest road game they would have would be at the end of the year against Arizona State. The toughest game they have is Texas Tech, but that is at home. So I thought they got a pretty good draw, all things considered.
Yeah, and look, when we think about surprise teams, Oklahoma State is certainly one, based on the success that Eric Morris has had at multiple stops in terms of being, an incredible offense. And not only that, but, he's bringing his quarterback with him, who is one of the most sought after quarterbacks in the transfer portal. So, should we expect Oklahoma State to have a full, Kurt Signetti turnaround a la James Madison with the amount of players that Eric Morris has brought with him from North Texas? Probably not. But I also think there's clearly a blueprint there. And, whereas maybe in years past, we might've said like, this is not North Texas, this is the big freaking 12. I think what Signetti has proven at Indiana, regardless of the outcome of this season, even going back to his first season with, all of those James Madison players coming with them, they might've said the same thing. This isn't James Madison. This isn't the Sun Belt. This is the freaking Big Ten. And yet it's the buy-in, it's the production. Those are the pieces I think that stand out more than anything else about, having some of that immediate success. So, I think schedule married with, what Eric Morris has brought in could spell some immediate success for Oklahoma State. At the very least, we know that Oklahoma State's probably not going to go 3 straight years without winning a Big 12 game.
Yeah. That's a good point. All right, Ari, I know you got to run here, but I did want to ask you about some basketball, man, because we are transitioning into basketball season now. Arizona, Studley, just awesome number 1 team in the country, had BYU and Tech clashing the other night. There's some really good to great teams in this league. How are you feeling as we kind of get into this stretch run here of heading into March?
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when Kansas and Baylor ran this conference.
I was going to say, yeah.
Seems like a long time ago. I mean, there's strength at the top. I mean, I've said it all year. I think the Big 12 has at least 2 Final Four teams, and I think the national champion is going to come from the Big 12. In fact, I think it's going to be Houston. I mean, Houston is incredible, and they brought back 3 of the most important players from last year's team that finished as a runner-up. And the best player on their team this year is a freshman named Kingston Flemings, who's been incredible at point guard. So, that just shows you how good they are. Arizona, they have a major contrast in styles in modern basketball. They play bully ball. They beat you in the paint and with rebounding. And so they're not sort of at the whims of 3-point shooting percentages, which a lot of teams are. Texas Tech, as Baylor saw last night, kind of is. I mean, they hit 17 threes, 14 of those came in the first half. That's something that Texas Tech can do. So I think holistically, this conference is really good because it challenges you in all different ways because of the different styles, the clashing styles that exist within this conference. But yeah, right now there's an upper tier with Arizona and Houston. Then I think it's everybody else, but you probably have BYU, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and maybe even Kansas sort of jockeying for that tier 2 position. But right now, nobody's even close to the level of Arizona and Houston. We'll see when Texas Tech and Houston play on Saturday.
Baylor is sick right now. They're not good. He pulled a team out, was it 10 years or 12, 13 years ago that started out really bad? I don't see how they're ever going to get back above water.
Those guys had played together for a couple of years, so they knew each other. In the modern way that college basketball goes, it's really hard to do that with guys who are still trying to find their footing. You just threw another guy in the mix essentially at midseason. But Ari, I have to go back to something. You just said maybe Kansas. Last week you're on this show and you were like, oh, woe is me. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, no. And look, I understand that there is concern for the health of Bill Self.
You want me to give you credit, Paul? Paul called it. Paul called it. They've won 3 straight since I started complaining. You're the man, Paul. You were right. I was wrong.
Wow. Yeah. I look, here's the thing. I have to deal with this all the time.
Yep.
And so you are one of the easiest ones I have to deal with. So it's just a blessing to get to talk to you.
You're just constantly talking family members off the ledge now? Is that what it is?
Oh, pretty much. You should see the texts I get from my brother-in-law that are, can you text this person and ask them this question specifically? Yeah, I got you, buddy. So I just read their article and I'm a little gotcha. Don't worry about it. Here, I'll send you the screen grab.
The one thing, guys, I will say about Baylor is, when Baylor won the national championship, and this is obviously this is not going to be news to you. They had the best defense in college basketball. They were dominant. They haven't gotten anything close to that. I mean, they haven't even had a respectable defense any year since then. And that, if we were to wrap up why Baylor struggled basically since winning the national title, that would be it to me, is for whatever reason, and maybe it's continuity and roster chemistry, which forever was such a huge part of the success of Baylor. I mean, Scott Drew basically invented the transfer portal, but he would have guys that would sit out for a year and get to learn the system and be better off for it. Their defense has just continually been atrocious, and this year's no different. And, Scott's got to figure out something different in terms of roster management and roster building because it's just not working.
It is not. They got bludgeoned and at home and hey, Tech and Houston around the corner too, which will be a great one to maybe be there, watch, and not do anything else. Thank you, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Take care. Hopefully we stay warm this weekend.
Yeah, I know. It's a bad deal. It's I don't know. Never is it ever bad as it says, the weather, but it's supposed to be really not 2021 around here, but it's going to be pretty icy and nasty in a lot of places.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people in Iowa and elsewhere that are man up, guys. Although I don't know what the map is for the rest of the country, so maybe they're expecting worse weather as well. But I know I learned from last time, I will be stocked up and I will have batteries and whatever I can possibly have. And my complex better have learned from last time, because I swear if I'm in the dark for a couple of days again, I will I don't know how I'll react. Yeah. Let's just put it that way. Let's hope we don't have to find out, because that last time with Encore and the nightmare in Texas was really that was dark.
Then that is incumbent upon your apartment to get a couple generators out there and power the complex.
You would hope so.
That's what they should do. My father-in-law called Amanda this morning and said that Nashville is bracing for 1.5 feet of snow.
Okay, so it's elsewhere.
So and they get snow in Nashville 1.5 feet. That's Buffalo snow.
Yeah.
Nashville snow is 2-3 inches on the thing, and then the guy comes on the news and he's like out there and there's kids making a snowman. 1.5 feet in Nashville is they're not prepped for it anymore.
There are some projections that it might be massive, and of course a lot of times they have to do that in case it is. But I'm talking about like 2-3 feet.
Yeah,
of snow.
It'll be the best estimate they have right now is a 1.5 feet. So, 2 or 3 feet of snow in Nashville. They would not know what to do with it. Half the people there now. I know my father-in-law does because they lived in Chicago. They don't have snow shovels or anything.
No,
I mean it's just not a way of their life. So,
I wanted to circle back on some things that Ari said. The movement of the championship game, like I said earlier, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is one of the things you're like, why? Why would you do that? You just had a great number. You have your own spot. Why would you move off that for the betterment of the ACC, who if you're competing with anybody, you're competing with them. And let's face facts, while you had a much better regular season, you had a far worse postseason than they did, given that they had a team playing for the national title who wasn't even their conference champion. So if he's correct in that there's some information that Mike Leslie passed along that we didn't see where that's going to rotate, then that makes a lot more sense. This totally feels like a TV network call. I don't think there's anything from Brett Yormark's standpoint where he's like, you know what would be a great idea? Let's move off where we've always been and where we just had a great number, and let's go to Friday nights where TV networks won't play the national championship game on that night because it's ratings death, basically. So if it's a rotating thing and it's some kind of an agreement with the networks, then that makes sense to do this. And if it rotates, then I'm okay with it. If that means, okay, then the ACC is going to be on Friday night next year, then that's fine.
And
that's
the
an
SEC,
okay trade. Well, they're not going to.
No.
We know those two aren't going anywhere. No. But, yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, that's okay. And then on the rivalry weekend, like we were talking about earlier, how it's not all on one weekend. When he started explaining it, I realized we've talked about this quite a bit of you don't load up all of your best games and then have them going up against all of everybody else's best games, especially when you're a conference that they feel like can just move conference title games from Friday to Saturday willy-nilly. Yeah, you're not going to put BYU Utah up against Auburn, Alabama, and get the best rating you could possibly get. So if you can put that in where it gets more attention on a week 7, then that strategically makes some sense as well. But I know from a fan standpoint, we would love it, and it's not possible because of the ratings, but it would be great if you could just have it's all of the best games the final weekend of the year across the country, a real true rivalry weekend. But that's not going to ever happen. It's not.
We'll have Zack Gelb around the corner. One thing last night, what Texas Tech did with their shooting early on a road game at Foster Pavilion was spectacular. Grant McCasland, of course, and Tech are so good.
Imagine how good they'd be with a former pro player on their roster. Maybe we'll see that soon.
Let's do that right here. You want to break and then come back with that? And then Zach?
No, I think we should do it here because
all right, let's go.
We have like
Alabama,
7 minutes.
Yeah, Alabama. We got Zack Gelb just around the corner. So Alabama, remember the outrage of James Nang at Baylor. Najee, at Baylor because he was a G League 3 years ago. And oh my God, clutch your pearls and Tom Izzo and Hurley and etc. and Nate Oates, but we'll get to that in a minute. Alabama, Charles Bediako is granted. He is going to join the Alabama men's basketball team and a restraining order against the NCAA of saying he can't, at least until they're playing Saturday at home against Tennessee, and then there'll be a hearing. A G League player, last played for Alabama in 23, has actually played in the G League, has actually had a contract he signed, which is one of the differences. And here we go again.
Yes, this is kind of the natural progression of where this was going to go. He signed a 2-way contract, but he only stayed one way. So he had that out because right now, the red line they haven't crossed is somebody who's actually played in the NBA. So we'll see if that happens. I don't think it will, but who knows? If you play 2 games in the NBA and you're on the NBA roster and you had 8 minutes of floor time total, are you going to say, well, that's not that long, and try to argue that out? But He did not play.
You're hurting my market value.
Yeah.
I played 7 minutes in the NBA.
Yeah. So I don't know what the argument.
But the difference is he signed a contract and he played. Now I don't give a damn what they do. I give up because it doesn't seem to matter what I think. But he did play. He did sign a contract, and I will not be surprised if this eventually he's allowed to play.
I'm sure.
I mean, not just Saturday, but elsewhere.
He's going to play on Saturday, so he'll at least get one in. Now, this is the NCAA's response, and see if you've heard them say this exact thing before. These attempts to sidestep NCAA rules and recruit individuals who have finished their time in college or signed NBA contracts are taking away opportunities from high school students. Great. That is very true. A judge ordering the NCAA let a former NBA player take the court Saturday against actual college student athletes is actually why Congress must step in and empower college sports to enforce our eligibility rules. So they were going along fine, and then they said, please come and help us, Congress.
Well, I think that the leadership of the NCAA, which is the schools themselves, let's remind everybody. So when they try to point to the boogeyman, you realize they're pointing to themselves in the mirrors. So don't feel sorry for these people. I think that this was inevitable. I think Scott Drew is the Thanos and Gamora meme where it's like, what did it cost you? Everything. Mm-hmm. So Scott Drew trying to just keep his roster above water and making a move that a lot of coaches apparently didn't even know that you could make legally, opened the door a smidge or a crack. And you knew that in college sports, where everybody says they want rules, but then they figure out immediately how to break those rules to get an unfair advantage, you knew that somebody was going to see the door cracked and somebody was going to kick it all the way open, and that's what Nate Oates and Alabama did. And I'm not surprised that they were the ones to do it, but I understand where they're coming from as far as this goes, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I didn't like it when Scott Drew did it, but at the time said like, well, if it's technically legal, like, I mean, I get it. I get you've got to do ultimately what's best for your basketball team. The part I hate about it most for Scott Drew is you did it for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. Your team is not any better as a result of this move that's now blown the door open. It'd be one thing if you at least won some more games as a result of it. That's not happening. So you basically cracked the door that nobody even knew could be unlocked. You found the key to it, and you unlocked it, and then Nate Oates came from behind and went, wham, and kicked that sucker down like the police kicking out a drug dealer's door. And now I wonder who's going to follow suit, and I just think it sucks for college basketball. I think it sucks for college sports. I don't want to see former pro players playing college sports. I don't. And the difference is the argument here for the Alabama side of things is there is this gray area where EuroLeague's fine. Go play pro Europe, pro Spain, pro Romania or whatever. That's cool, but you play in the G League. Oh, no, we can't do that. So there is that gray area where the Europeans or the overseas guys have this benefit.
You can play in the G League. You can't sign a contract and play in the G League.
Right, but those guys are playing over there on contracts.
I know.
So that from that standpoint, that doesn't make any sense, and that is an area that was ripe for being taken advantage of to the credit of the American coaches and Nate Oates and Scott Drew and whatever.
And one of the things everyone thought about the Baylor player was he's some double every night. He's just a guy. That's why he didn't play for 3 years. Yeah.
It makes it even worse.
Yes.
Dude, if you're going to do this, Scott Drew, then at least do it to make it worth it. Like
they needed a body inside. Remember, there was an injury or two, but I'm not defending
from St. Mary's or something.
It was not the kid's fault that he's not really that good, and everyone just thought he was going to be some fantastic. Well, he got jeered pretty quickly at TCU because people just didn't know how good he was.
But he and his agent were trying to find opportunities for him, and they were doing that. And then there were some teams that were kind of out looking for who they could pick up. Baylor was one of them, and Scott Drew, in his attempt to understand something, opened a door to do something, opened a door that he didn't intend. Here's Nate Oates. I just want to get to this.
Get this quote. This is when this story with Baylor and signing him. This is what Nate Oates said.
This is 6 weeks ago. I think it's taking away opportunities from high school, from kids coming out of high school. I was a high school coach for 11 years. I wanted my kids to get opportunities. Well, I'm sorry, my glasses are when they left my program. This is taking opportunities away from our kids. This was 6 weeks ago. And now I guess he doesn't care anymore?
Clearly not, Paul, because he's doing it. So, yeah, if he cared, that's a weird way to show it, is by doing the opposite of what you said. So, yeah, no, he doesn't care. He saw a guy who's going to potentially put them on a road to winning some championships, and that's all he cares about, like most of these other guys. So, Scott Drew pulled a thread that he thought was just going to be a little thread, and he'd snip it off, I suppose, and he didn't realize he unraveled the entire blanket of college basketball in the process of doing so. So there was ramifications to that. It's not surprising that somebody was going to follow suit and try to see how they could take it even further. And for the Alabama fans, who I don't know if they just don't know the actual facts or if they're just being like the type of fan where, oh, it's my team, so I don't care now. Or they're being like intentionally obtuse about it. But there is a difference in that, as you pointed out, this guy signed a contract. He signed an actual contract, played in the G League, whereas with Najee, he didn't sign a contract. He was drafted, but he didn't sign a contract, and he played overseas. So that's the difference, is that in the Alabama case, you have a guy signing a contract officially to play in the NBA, whereas you didn't have that with Najee. And so there is the difference. It's not apples to apples, because I did see a lot of Alabama fans going, well, nobody cared when the Baylor guy did it. You're either lying or you're just not paying attention. I don't know which is which, and I won't accuse you of one or the other, because I definitely know some Alabama fans are lying when they say that. But they don't care, again, because it's Alabama benefiting from it. And this would be the case if it was Texas State or UNLV or whoever. But there is that difference. And trust me, plenty of people care when James Najee. That's where all of the coaches talking about this came from. From Tom Izzo to Nate Oates to John Calipari to every other coach who sounded off on this. Yeah, they all cared. It was a big deal like a month ago, and plenty of people were talking about it. So don't give me this, oh, well, nobody cared when Baylor did it. BS, that's where all of this started, was Baylor doing it.
And like for somebody that did Baylor just need a practice player? No, they needed a big man who could get 5 fouls, maybe pluck a rebound or two and get a dunk and walk and chew gum. And I'm not trying to make fun of Najee. They were just atrocious inside, and they still are.
He has 4 years of eligibility left, and maybe he'll get better, whether it's at Baylor or somewhere else. But right now, it has not helped them in the slightest.
No.
They have 2 really good guards in Cameron Carr and in Tiande Yesufu, but after that, it's tough.
It's a bad year. By the way, UConn AD, and we break for Zack Gelb. UConn AD David Benedict told ESPN he's imploring Charlie Baker, president of NCAA, to take a stand in eligibility cases when there's NCAA rules being circumvented by judges' rulings. Here's what he was saying. You can get sued for everything, right? If there's a loophole, whatever. Fight for your client if you're an attorney, a lawyer, a law firm. What he's saying, though, is what the NCAA should do. You can play, but if he plays, he's ineligible when it comes to wins and losses. Can you imagine that fight right there?
I mean, yeah, just great news for Darren Heitner and all these other guys whose names I never wanted to know to begin with. But I understand they've got a job to do, and they've got a lane to drive in, and they found a very comfy, luxurious, well-paying lane against the NCAA these last few years. So I think this all sucks. I think it sucks for college basketball that we're going down this road, but I also think it's entirely unsurprising. And I don't always agree with everybody on everything. Obviously, we all have our various opinions, but I did see a couple of different people. I think Shannon Terry, maybe from On3, was one of them. I don't always agree with him on everything, but on the case of this in particular, he did say, and others said something similar as well, I just can't remember exactly who, that while this sucks, and there's no doubt that it does, unless you're an Alabama fan, but you know if you're the same Alabama fan, if Auburn did this, you would be pulling your eyeballs out and setting them on fire and cursing them everything under the sun. While this sucks, is this another moment where the axe gets taken to that NCAA tree and topples this sumbitch over so we can get to somewhere where we're not talking about these stupid lawsuits all year long? And if that's the case, if that's where this leads, then this is good in the long run.
Need as many of them as you can the next few weeks, and let's then break it all up.
But, man, it sucks. It absolutely sucks for college basketball. It makes me less interested in it by far.
It does. Something needs to happen there. We're at a flashpoint right now. If they don't realize it, they do. Like, let's just stop pretending like you can bring it back.
But how many times have we said that already?
No, I think because this is the one thing, like paying players is one thing. Transferring schools while you're still under your eligibility is another thing. But the NCAA having to fight to get kids to actually leave school is, I think that's their Alamo.
Well, here's the thing. Paying players was always illegal.
Yeah.
Like it was like, no, we can't pay players. It's like, then when the courts got involved and said, this is totally illegal. What are y'all doing? How did you get away with this for so long? And then they had no choice. The transferring thing, you can't not allow guys to go move to a school. And so but now pro players playing in college sports, that's a whole different thing right there. That's not like that's illegal. That's a this or that.
Pro players get paid. Pro players can leave, but it's after their contract ends or they're cut or released. It's just stupid that the NCAA and everyone else involved cannot have figured that out before it started.
Yeah, so this should be more, look, this tree is dead. Let's cut it down, and it's now mulch.
Yeah. Okay, when we come back, Zack Gelb, who does his show with 365 Sports in the afternoon from 1 until around 2:45 Central, was with CBS Sports, Infinity Sports Broadcast Network. He joins us next. This is 365 Sports. And the Baylor Club. Hey, if you're in the area and you want a special Valentine's night, by the way, hey, get as many bonus points as you possibly can. The Baylor Club can help you out with all of the amenities, the food, the setup on the table with the lights in a really nice, comfortable setting with you and whoever you're going to take to dinner or lunch at the Baylor Club. There are specials all the way through the month of January. You can call them, go online, go to Facebook, drop by their location, and memberships available. But their next big event, just around the corner, just to remind you too, is Valentine's Day at the Baylor Club off I-35 in Waco, inside McLean Stadium.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
At BK Ford, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK Ford can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK Ford.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
is 365 Sports.
365 Sports, Zack Gelb, 365 Sports in the afternoons from 1 until 2:45 or so Central, right before we're on this same channel. Joins us on 365 Sports. I've said 365 Sports like 5 or 6 times. Hello, good afternoon. How we doing? Let's start with college. Just now 2 days since the national championship game. And so what Cignetti did and he was talking yesterday, I guess, after the championship about how this team, what they did, should allow people to have more respect for the team than they got at all in 2024. Did you hear that comment, Zach?
I didn't, but he's right, because let's be real. After what happened last year, we were all like, all right, it's cool, but what is he going to do in the next chapter? And most people, yours included, so I will hold up my hand on that one, said, oh, yeah, Indiana's going to regress. Oh, no. They got better, and they became the most impressive team that I've ever seen in the history of college football. I did not say the best. I did not say they're the greatest college football team of all time, but the story, Indiana winning a college football national championship, is the most impressive thing I've ever seen from a team in a totality of a season, with the storylines and the history and the buildup that I've ever seen in the sport.
Yeah, it's really amazing how you can go from the worst team ever to the best team ever, or the best team in the season in 2 years now. And that there are bad things with the portal. There are bad things that have come with all of this. But the best thing it's done is it has opened up for anybody who wants to plan and really commit to it. Right, Zach?
Here's the thing. NIL, I get it. It could be a headache. The transfer portal, it could be a headache. What Curt Cignetti did at Indiana, I don't want to hear about any other coach in the country that's at a big school that can't, like Lane Kiffin, not winning a national championship at Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, you better go win one at LSU with all the resources in the world. Like, that's where you could start. There are no excuses for a lot of coaches now in college football, because Curt Cignetti went to Indiana. he didn't go to LSU. His first job wasn't at Michigan. It was at Indiana. When he went on that basketball court and he said, Purdue sucks and so does Ohio State and Michigan, I said, wow, like, this guy is cool, but we're going to use this against him. When he went on the set of College Game Day last year, when they made the playoff, and he's like, all we do is beat the crap out of top 25 teams, and then lost to Notre Dame, you sort of think, all right, that was going to be the apex of the story, and then people are going to start using, all these quotes against him. But no, everyone shuts up now. You salute Curt Cignetti, and what he did, he can make it possible for a lot of schools that you would never think to win a championship, to at least let them dream. If we follow the Cignetti way, if we get the investment from alumni, we could have a turnaround like this. Because, Paul, you said it. They were the most losingest program in the history of the sport, and now in 2 years, they've won more games than Indiana fans could ever have imagined.
Zach, I like the way you phrased it about it at least lets you dream, because I'm on board with you totally. I think the one thing is Curt Cignetti might just be that unicorn as a coach, that you can do all the other things, but you're still not necessarily guaranteed to get a Curt Cignetti. But I'm right there with you on it. At least allows you to feel like it's possible if you do get the right people. You
know what it's like, Craig? When Patrick Mahomes happened, we started looking at all these quarterbacks. Oh, like a Zach Wilson. Now, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but he does like 15% of the things like Patrick Mahomes. So maybe he'll be the next Patrick Mahomes of the NFL. That's the dangerous game. You will try to find the next Curt Cignetti. In all likelihood, you will be unsuccessful, because what he just did in like the history of sports, and I'm not talking about like one isolated game like Villanova beating Georgetown in basketball. I'm not talking about that stuff. But in a 2-year stretch, in a culmination of a season, to talk about where they were to what they are now, the thing I keep on going back to is 1980 U.S. hockey with Herb Brooks, where you take a bunch of amateurs, take a bunch of college kids, and they go and they beat the Soviets en route to winning a gold medal. That's the one thing I keep on going for, where I go, okay, that's a little bit more impressive coaching job than what Cignetti did.
Mike Craig was the goalie, right? And Eruzione, among others. That was
Jim Craig and Mike Eruzione. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching that game I was in Stephen F. Austin in my dorm room watching that game.
Well, let's be real, Smokey. You may be the only one on this show that remembers it.
Hey,
all I know it is from Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
Mike Eruzione.
Yeah.
Who do you play for? The United States of America. You have Jim Craig. You want me to take your test? I'll take your test.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only other person who was technically alive, but it was still before I was born. Like I was gestating. Like I could have been alive, but
you were
I wasn't
bouncing
born.
around somewhere is what you were saying?
Yeah. You were inside the womb.
I was in the womb.
Okay.
So I was like, I was alive.
No,
but
you were.
Yeah.
Craig, isn't it nice that we're not as old as these two guys?
Yeah. Zack Gelb with us now on Wednesdays in the 4 o'clock hour on 365 Sports.
1980 wasn't that long ago. Zach, tons of NFL news this week. I'm curious on your opinion on Robert Saleh to Tennessee. I don't think he's made a gigantic ownership upgrade in the Johnson family to the Adam Strunk group, but it is a little better. They've got a new stadium coming. They have a young quarterback. He's not being forced upon an old crazy veteran like Aaron Rodgers. Do you think this time can work out better, given that those scenarios are, at least on the surface, better than what he was dealing with in New York?
I know Mike Vrabel wanted out, but with what Mike Vrabel has quickly done, Tennessee, you look dumber but by the second. Let's just get that out of the way. So ultimately, it comes down to the offense. Robert Saleh is a great defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh is a guy that can win you over in the interview. But how many times do we see defensive coordinators, right, become head coaches, and they have no say in the offense, and the offense ends up being a disaster? And that's what happened in New York. Like, they had the second overall pick in the draft in Zach Wilson. That didn't work. You bring in Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, blows out his Achilles. And then the second year of Rodgers being there, Saleh wasn't really given much of a shot because of how early they fired him. I don't know how much better Tennessee was going to get. It wasn't like it was a dream destination, but ultimately the success of Robert Saleh is going to hinge on the success of Cam Ward. And that's what I think it comes down to.
I know there's already been, and the New York press is different. There's already been like a little bit of like who's in charge kind of controversy going on, but how ecstatic are the G-men and their fans and landing John Harbaugh as their next head coach?
I know Joe Schoen. I like Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen, I don't care what they say. This is a John Harbaugh organization now. And like people will say, well, you know, John Harbaugh is overrated. He could have won a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. Totally get it. The goals, though, of the Giants right now is not to win a Super Bowl. It's to restore a once great franchise back to respectability. And for the last 10 years, this organization has been a dumpster fire. And you bring in a guy like John Harbaugh who wanted to be there. John Harbaugh, I think, will put the Giants back on the path of being respectable. I'm not saying they're winning a Super Bowl anytime soon, but they will be a team that you could actually watch on Sunday instead of by like Thanksgiving each and every year by Sunday. The season has already been over for about 4 or 5 weeks.
Zach, with Daboll and the connection to Josh Allen, will Buffalo fans have a meltdown if this is not a different hire? What is the feeling right there in your backyard?
Well, on 365 Sports, obviously I do my show here. And when that news came out, I said, if I am Terry Bakula, I am calling Mike Tomlin. Doesn't seem like Mike Tomlin wants to coach. I would also call Bill Belichick. And I don't think the Bills will make that phone call. So then after that, what could they do? I threw out that day Brian Daboll because of the connection, like you said, to Josh Allen. I threw out Chris Shula. I threw out Clint Kubiak, and then also Jesse Minter. Those are 5 or 6 names. If it is Daboll, do I think Daboll is deserving of that job with what happened in New York? No. But Daboll has a good connection with Josh Allen. So I think Bills fans will not be thrilled with it, but they will sell themselves on, all right, maybe the success that the Bills had was more Brian Daboll with Josh Allen than it was Sean McDermott, which is wildly unfair to Sean McDermott because the Bills were a mess before Sean McDermott ever got there. They missed the playoffs like 15 or 16 straight years in a row, whatever it was. And then he made it 8 out of the last 9 years. But it was the time to get rid of McDermott with how many heartbreaking defeats that they had. He's built up 85% of the house. Now the next 15%, they needed someone else to bring it on in. But I heard Benjamin Solak, I think his name is, was on ESPN. And he was like, oh, this job is not as attractive as what people think. You have Josh Allen. Yeah, that's pretty damn attractive to me.
I had access to wings all day long.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Make sure you're going to bar bill, by the way, if you're ever in Buffalo.
Yeah. Zach, of the open jobs remaining, Pittsburgh and Baltimore are both very attractive for ownership reasons, and that they have owners who will stick by their coach for a while and go and do that. What do you think you will see as far as maybe a change in philosophy when it comes to Baltimore and Pittsburgh with their coaches?
Pittsburgh, I don't expect much to change. Like, if they hire Mike McCarthy, I like, is it that much different than Mike Tomlin? Like, both guys won a Super Bowl. Both guys are winners. But in the year of 2026, Mike Tomlin wasn't going to win a championship, and I don't think Mike McCarthy will either. So I think that will be a lateral move. But Steelers fans, I think, would think that it's a downgrade. And I think the national media, with the way that we talk about Mike McCarthy, would think it would be a downgrade. So the Steelers, they used to be about winning Super Bowl championships. Now it's about getting the monkey off the back about winning a playoff game. So I don't like the direction that team is moving. The Ravens, I think you need to bring a little bit more control to that organization, because the last 3-4 years, it got sloppy between John Harbaugh, who is a well-respected coach, and Lamar Jackson. You read that article that was written, and Lamar falling asleep in team meetings, Lamar playing the video games late at night. They don't practice in the morning. I think you need a player's coach, but a player's coach that isn't a doormat. And surprisingly, at the end of his run in Baltimore, John Harbaugh, it felt like, became a doormat.
Zach, we're going to have the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks. Who do you think we're watching play? Obviously, that Bo Nix news was a real bummer to get right after that Broncos victory. But Pats and Broncos, Rams and Seahawks, who do you think we're watching here in a couple of weeks?
So the Bo Nix thing was just bizarre with how late in the game it happened. No one knew what happened. Then Sean gets to the podium. He's like, our quarterback not only broke his ankle, he's having surgery on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even go through the gamesmanship of trying to see if he's going to play or whatnot. So I've never seen it happen that quickly. I think Drake May's going to bounce back and play well. The Broncos defense is damn good. Like, Denver could still win the game, but I'm going to take the Patriots because I'm not going to pick Jarrett Stidham. The Rams and the Seahawks, I'm conflicted because I should pick the Rams. And I think the Rams are the best team remaining. Something just tells me Seattle at home is going to get the job done. I guess the health of Sam Darnold's going to be a big thing to monitor going back to last week with that oblique injury, and the game was just a blowout. But it feels weird to pick Sam Darnold to get to the Super Bowl. But right now, if you ask me today on Wednesday, maybe I'll change it by Friday with my show here on 365 Sports, which make sure you watch, by the way, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Time right here on 365 Sports, same way you watch this great show. I will say it's going to be the Patriots and the Seahawks in San Francisco, and we're all sharing an Airbnb together.
So, yeah, we will be there together. 14-3 Seattle, hammered the 49ers twice, and it's still like they're under the radar, but they are playing great football. And you're right, Darnold has obviously surprised a lot of people, and now maybe the difference in whether they do get to San Francisco.
And Zach Charbonnet now out with the ACL, so they had the two-headed attack with him and Kenneth Walker. Now it's just Kenneth Walker, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, along with Cooper Kupp. We know how good of a 1-2 punch that combination is, and Jackson Smith and Jigba really made a name for himself this year. But that defense is just, especially that front, is so good, and the special teams asset of Rashid Shaheed and getting him from the Saints. So you're right. Seattle, I'm not going to say they're Indiana because that's crazy, but like, even when they keep on winning, people are like, who's going to take them out? And we know how that worked for Indiana.
Zach, I know that you're a Mets guy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing? Are we confused? Are we happy? What emoji would you throw up on the screen right now?
I'm not mad. I'm not happy. You know, I don't love that Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz both were gone this offseason. I still have major questions about the starting rotation. They get Luis Robert, fine. Bo Bichette, I like. I do think, I'll get excited if they trade for Tarek Skubal by the deadline. But, yeah, here's what happens to the Mets, though. We thought they were going to be good last year. They stunk. This year, everyone thinks they're going to be, not good as well. They'll probably be better than what people think would be my guess. That's usually how it works.
Yeah, it's going to be fun in San Francisco. I think the Airbnb is a haunted house. We're trying to at least explain that to one of our producers who's a little bit jittery about that.
Two of our producers are jittery about it. One of them Yeah.
Now,
Garrett doesn't. Garrett believes in ghosts, and so does Brandon.
Okay.
And I like to stir the pot a little bit. So when I have let's hope they're not. I know that they're working right now. When I have a late arrival Tuesday night, maybe I'll walk in like a ghost costume or something.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Garrett,
getting scared.
Yeah, give me a heads up. We'll get a flashlight. We'll put off to the side. You could kind of slightly put it on your face. And
I do have a question. Can I get some scouting reports, some 365 scouting reports sent to my email just about what I have to deal with when I'm in the Airbnb with you guys and some weird idiosyncrasies?
Yes, we'll do that. We'll take a couple of pictures. I'll send you a link to the house. It's got an unbelievable view of the bay. It really does, up on a hill.
Yeah.
All right.
We actually don't cross paths in the Airbnb all that much. We keep to ourselves, so you'll be okay.
Okay, so Paul doesn't want to talk to Smokey when they're out off the air? Is that what I'm getting out here?
No. It's just we get to it. Like last year in New Orleans, we got to the Airbnb and, we ate dinner one night. We watched a couple of documentaries, but it wasn't like we weren't all up in each other's business.
Yeah.
This is what I will bring to 365 Sports. I think we should have some more camaraderie here, and I think we should at least one night do a dinner together.
No, we will, because I'll end up paying for it, because the last time we went to dinner, Paul went to this expensive
I got to go to the
Italian
bathroom.
place. Yeah, went to this expensive Italian restaurant. Everybody had wine or something. I had maybe 1 Crown and Diet Coke, and I had to pay about $488.
Oh, my God.
Don't blame me. Blame Barry Odom.
Nobody else paid for it. Yeah,
Barry Odom suggested it to
us.
That
doesn't mean everyone else lets me pay it by myself.
Have you guys ever seen The Sopranos?
Yeah. Oh.
So, when I think it's Finn, he tries to pay, and Tony goes, I pay for my family. If you want to pay, you get your own family. So, Smokey, you're like the father here.
Yeah, I know. All right, man. We'll see you soon, but we'll talk to you next week too, Zach. Thank you.
You got it. Be well.
1 to 3, 365 Sports. Zack Gelb with us every day, every weekday, and he'll also be in San Francisco with us, Super Bowl 60.
Yeah, it's always good to talk to Zach and just get different opinions and thoughts, and love having him as a part of the channel. And definitely check that out if you haven't already during the middle part of the day, somewhat leading into us, and great to have some others bringing some content on this channel. So, yeah, hopefully we've had some new people from the Zack Gelb universe that have wandered over and vice versa. And if you're new here, then please hit that like and subscribe button.
Yep. We need to get I sent Zach a 365 Sports cap, a hat. And somebody in the chat, Craig, asked if you ever wear one. You did early on, didn't you?
I had some that were from where we started off. We had some hats there kind of at the beginning, gave a bunch of those out, had them in like Big 12 media days and stuff. And I've got like a handful of them because I always wear hats. I just haven't worn them a lot lately. I think a couple of them just got like tattered because I wore like the green one I loved it, but I wore it too much. And then some of them just never quite my color pattern, I guess. They don't really go with, like I have a bright red one. It just, I don't know. It's just not my style really. So it's in the closet. Maybe I'll bring a couple that I never wore and we can give them out. But we do have these right here.
And they're nice.
And
really
they're very nice.
Yeah.
I just haven't officially worn it on the show. I will maybe tomorrow, but these are up in the shop, I believe.
In the merchandise link. And that's the high. It's not the really high top. It's very well. It's not one of the floppy ones either. It's really, really very nice. I wear it when I play golf.
Yeah. So if you want to check these out, they're in the merchandise store. And we've got some other stuff over there as well. But, here's a 365 Sports cap that are really nice.
Andrew, how many of those Smokey Says Relax T-shirts we sell? 3, the ones I bought? 5 or 6? Okay, it's off and running. Okay, now, when we come back, a couple of the nuggets to get to when it comes to college sports, athletics, and more. We do need to look at we mentioned a little bit of the Big 12 and basketball. We'll do a little bit of that more. And then later on, there's a chance in the 5 o'clock hour, Haynes King, Georgia Tech quarterback, tonight will be presented the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award at the banquet in Tyler. And we're trying to make sure there's a good chance we get him live before we say goodbye today in the 5 o'clock hour. So there we are with it. We'll also get to super chats and more, of course, at the end of the show.
Well, there's a coaching move that's looking like it's getting close to finalized in Los Angeles that we can come back and talk about.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, a coordinator, Craig's best friend. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. And Ted Teague is the general manager and the CEO, and sent me some nuggets for me to promote with what they have right now as the month of January heads towards the last few days. Right now, the brand new 2025 Jeep Wrangler Sahara, a massive $9,000 off. Or grab the 2025 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon with $12,000 off MSRP. It is battle ready. Fully loaded 2025 Ram 3/4-ton limited slashed by $14,000. Aggressive, bold, disappearing fast as far as those available cars, both the new and pre-owned also, which is always filled with great options for you. 2026 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab, $12,000 off MSRP, or you can choose 0% financing for 0% financing plus $7,500 off. There's so much more. 2025 Ram 1500s at Allen Samuels, your last shot to get them at right now with what they have with dealer discounts and more. It's Ted Teague, the general manager and CEO. David Gray runs all of those men and women who help find the car that you're looking for and also test drive it too. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
This is 365 Sports.
365 Sports, we do appreciate your time. If you have not hit the like button, please do. And if you have not subscribed to our channel, we would love for you to do that. And if you have, then tell somebody else about it as we continue to grow because, of course, you and giving us all of your time. So we mentioned, Zack Gelb mentioned the 1980 Miracle on Ice, the United States hockey team winning the gold medal. And he put up a super chat, by the way. We have a super chat on that. We might have our guest here in just a second with 365 Sports and Haynes King, Georgia Tech quarterback. I'll read it on the air from Kim Coulter. I played golf and rode with Mike Eruzione in Hawaii at Manalani. I don't remember much because we were both overserved. How much fun was that? That was amazing. So thank you very much, Kim, for the super chat and also for sharing that memory. That had to be a great time just being in Hawaii alone. We're going to be joined in just a second by Georgia Tech quarterback Haynes King, who it was announced a couple of weeks ago that he is the 2025 Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner, the quarterback at Georgia Tech. We've had Haynes on the show a handful of times over the last 3 or 4 years. Do we have him, Brandon? Okay. All right. We'll have here in just a second. I can't. Is he there? All right.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, Haynes, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is David Smoak, Craig Smoak, and Paul Catalina. You've joined us before. We've known you for quite some time. I cannot think of anybody who represents a lot of how Earl Campbell played the game and at the quarterback position the way you did. What does this award and honor mean to you?
I mean, it means a lot. I almost can't even put it into words, especially being from East Texas, Longview, not too far from each other as well. And you hear the name all the time growing up, Earl Campbell, and it's just, like I said, I can't even put it to words what it means to me.
And a large part of the reason you won this award is because of what you did, because you're from Texas, but also you helped rejuvenate a program that was kind of bland for a little while with you and Brent Key. What does that mean to you to be a part of the start of something that looks like it could be special for a while at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, I mean, you said the key word right there. It's something special to me. It's something special to Key, something special to everybody in that building that helped get it done. Because once you're there and you become a Tech man, you see all the great things that it could be. And for it to get off, I guess you'd say, the rock bottom of what it was, and for us to have this kind of year, obviously we didn't finish it how we wanted it to, but to be able to do that and have that successful of a year in 3 years, as I did at Georgia Tech, it's just something special and something you'll always remember.
Haynes, like you mentioned there, it didn't end exactly the way that you wanted it to. I'm not going to dwell on that, but I was more curious about what was the experience like playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Is it as fun to play in and be a part of as it appears on social media and on TV?
Oh, yes, sir. It's definitely, it's a lot of fun. And just going out there and I wanted to be there with the boys, one more last ride. And, bowl games are always fun. You get all these events and different experiences during the week for the bowl games. And, like I said, just being there with the boys and your family that you spend all season with, blood, sweat, and tears, and to be able to finish it off with them. And it meant a lot to me, and I took it personal and played my heart out.
When I was watching Fernando Mendoza on that fourth down draw score, which was a huge play in the championship win against Miami, later on in the post game, they showed his arms were battered and bruised. And I got a feeling you went through that a few times, if not every week. How much respect do you have for him in that play that he made? Because you did that a few times.
Oh, a lot of respect. And, I've talked to Fernando a couple of times. We got a mutual friend, and made the connection as well. But I have a lot of respect for him. He played at a high level all season, and we're kind of wired the same way. When you get into stuff like that, putting your body on the line and trying to do whatever it takes to win.
His baby brother is coming to Georgia Tech to vie for your now open spot, Haynes. That's got to be exciting for the Yellow Jackets too.
Oh, for sure. And they have a great family as well. And for his younger brother to, I guess you'd say, try to continue what we've started over there at Georgia Tech. I mean, I wouldn't want any other family to be a part of it. Like I said, these couple of times that I got to talk with them, they're great people, great human beings. And like I said, they're wired the right way. And to be able to go over there and, meeting finally in person when I go back for pro day, it'll be pretty awesome.
Haynes, I doubt players get as caught up in some of the stuff that fans get caught up in, and you guys didn't play Miami this year, but was there a part of you as an ACC guy that was proud to see them represent, or you're like, oh, no, I can't go there?
Yeah, for sure. I felt like, the ACC conference didn't get their flowers and wasn't respected as what I thought that we should. There's a lot of great teams in here, and Miami showed that. And with our conference, anybody can win any other week. Any given week, any team can win. That's just kind of the competition that's in that conference from the top down.
Haynes, this was a year in which obviously you had a special year. Not like you said, the ending the way you wanted, but it was still an incredible game against BYU. But it was also emotional with your father going through the treatments and cancer and getting through that while he was also trying to coach your alma mater and still get to your games as much as possible. What was that like for you?
I mean, it was pretty special, meant a lot. And I saw his love and support for all of that. He was going through a lot of stuff, and, for him to call me and tell me, and one of the first things he told me was to make sure I still had a job to do. And he wanted me to do it at a high level as well. And for him to do that and not be selfish and want the best for me, that meant a lot. And that's just kind of who he is as well.
Haynes, one of your best career moments was against Miami in closing out that ridiculous game. What will you always remember about that crazy finish that you guys had?
I mean, the biggest thing that I take from that game is all I need is an opportunity and a chance. And I'm going to try to do my best to make the most of it.
Haynes King is going to be the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner presented tonight. Have you ever talked with Earl before?
A couple times, not too much.
What how many videos of watching him play did you see as you were growing up, or like flashes of his highlights when he was such a powerful and great player?
Oh, all the time, especially growing up. Like I said, in East Texas, it's all over the place. And like I said, it means so much to me. I don't even know kind of what to say. I can't even really put it in words what it means to me to receive this award with his name attached.
Haynes, what's the future now? What do you do now? What is on your I guess you say your platter, your protocol, your protocol and itinerary moving forward?
Right now is trying to get everybody back healthy and continue to train in Dallas for the draft, and then throwing and making sure all of that is looking clean as a whistle and getting ready. And then next week I start the Shrine Bowl practice. We actually start this Friday, and the game's on the 27th. And then after that, a month later, I'll be at the NFL Combine, February 27th.
Has anybody told you kind of where they look at you? Because I would never bet against you. What they see in you in the NFL?
I hadn't heard a whole lot, but I also hadn't asked. For the most part, I've been trying to stay in the present moment, make sure I'm not too worried about everything else and not worried about, like I said, one, getting my body right, two, interviews and crushing those, whether it's, with scouts, gyms, or even on the board.
Well, I'm telling you right now, you've been a thrill to watch when you were at high school and what you did at Georgia Tech. Can't wait to see what you do, and the best of luck with you going forward in the NFL, and congratulations on tonight. And thank you very much for giving us your time. I know a lot of others want to talk to you right now, and Tyler, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Haynes King, Georgia Tech quarterback. What a career. Started out at A&M and ended up with a brilliant career with Georgia Tech in the ACC.
Yeah, good to talk to Haynes, and what a great representative for Georgia Tech, for Texas high school football, for the King family as well, and congratulations to him. A lot of good players around the state this year, and from the state of Texas are playing in the state of Texas as the award goes, and just congratulations to him because I think you had Kawan Lacey or L.J. Martin or various other guys that could be involved, and he was the guy to emerge and be the winner this year, joined a long list of other great players over the last decade plus or so. So I know Earl's excited and the Campbell family, and just congrats to everybody involved with that award, and glad that Haynes is there to enjoy it. And apparently, I've been told, has quite a bit of family and friends there. So it should be a really big night for the Campbell and the King families, and I'm excited about that.
Thanks to Cindy Smoak for setting that up with Haynes King and the work that she does for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award, which is from the first year. The first winner was Bryce Petty back in, I think, 2015 when that award started.
He didn't play in 2015. It was 2014.
2014. Yeah, that's right, 2014.
And I still have a problem with it. I don't like that guy. No.
Yeah, he's just an ass. No, Bryce. I mean, obviously, Bryce back then, that was Baylor's heyday with Bryles right before, about 3 years before it all came tumbling down in the way that it did. And, yeah, he was tremendous. And it got to the point, though, where with some of those offenses, it's hard to distinguish, like, who's a product of the system, who's a really good player, because you suddenly have so many guys putting up numbers. And we've seen that carry over with various offenses. But especially then, though, they were so prolific that you could have had like a final five and four of them could have been Baylor guys because the offense did so much numbers-wise. But, no, he was a great first winner, and there's been a lot of other really great players over the last 10 years, and Haynes is the next in line, and so glad to see him get his just due.
Yep, and I love the coach there and appreciate Haynes King for being a part of our show. He'll be honored tonight at the banquet in Tyler. All right, so let's discuss a little bit of hey, we have not mentioned Darian Mensah, and Craig, you have news on a coaching a coordinator's job, right?
Well, go ahead and get the Darian Mensah, I guess.
Yeah, let's Brandon, do you have that? The Darian Mensah, the quarterback at Duke. He's headed in the portal. Duke said they weren't going to put him in the portal. Now they're going to have to put him in the portal, but still whatever happens legally, this guy is really good, and Miami is going to have him at quarterback, it looks like, next year.
But he can't officially sign with Miami until the hearing, which is not to the early part of February, so it's still a couple of weeks. So we'll see. I would assume that he is probably on his way to enrolling classes, which you can do regardless. As long as the school says, here's your classes, you start tomorrow. You don't have to be a football player to do that. So I assume he's going to be right with that. Now, whether he'll be eligible for spring practice or not remains to be seen. But if he is not Miami's quarterback running out of the gate, it's a really wild legal win for Duke.
Well, I think it's really hard to tell what's what right now because there are, if you haven't been on Twitter before, a lot of lawyer experts, like and 95% of them aren't actually lawyers. They know lawyers in their family or something. And so it's like their interpretation. And there are some that actually are, and they provide good insight. My point is it just gets lost and muddied on what's actually true and what's not true. So it's hard to tell kind of where we are, but best I could figure out in all of the noise about it is he can go and enroll at Miami, or Duke's going to put him in the portal. But I don't know about the enrolling part of that. And I don't know about the playing football part. I think that's still very much to be decided. So I guess we'll just wait on solid updates to kind of tell us what's what here. But yeah, they can't prevent him from going into the portal is the one thing I do know. Like that's the one thing I know for sure is Duke can't say, nope, you're not allowed. He's got to be allowed to go into the portal. Beyond that, what he can actually do at this point, I'm still confused by.
Yeah,
you got
that. You got Trent Chambliss. You've got the Alabama basketball player. It's just like
Joey Aguilar and Parker Navarro are also trying to get extra years. So we'll have to watch those because that will affect some things. My assumption would be that one of those guys, if whoever gets the eligibility and doesn't, will probably be the starting quarterback at Tennessee next year.
Probably. And there's been various updates, again, like Pete Nakos had earlier, that Duke's request to prohibit Mensah from entering the portal was denied. They were granted the TRO that does not allow him to enroll at a new institution until the preliminary injunction hearing on February 2nd. So that's probably the most clear cut. So they had to put him in the portal, but until February 2nd, he can't enroll at Miami, play football, can't get involved in, I guess, all the NIL licensing deals. And I don't know contractually what that means. I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer here myself, but I'm definitely as probably in the woods on this as anybody, as far as not really fully knowing what's allowed and what's not, other than, he can't enroll at Miami and just start practicing with the football team and everything.
No,
we got to wait till February 2nd.
And so if he can't enroll at Miami, that means he has to finish out the semester at Duke, which means they won't have him for spring, which would be the smallest victory I guess Duke could grab for all this, that Darian Mensah has to hit the ground running a little harder when he gets to Coral Gables.
Yeah, I don't know on how all that works, like I said, but I do know this. We need the lawyer who drew up Damon Williams' contract to now be the lawyer for every other school trying to enforce NIL deals, because that's the one time where even Darren Heitner was like, I'm on the case. And it was 2 hours later, he's like, case closed. Washington's got a firm contract, and this guy's going back to school there. That was a fart in the wind when all was said and done, even though it seemed like a big deal at the time. And it's the only time I feel like I've seen an NIL contract that's actually been enforced and it's just like case closed, like, no, he has no way out of this thing. Whereas obviously the language is much different with the whole Darian Mensah situation. But yeah, the kudos to the lawyer for Washington in the Damon Williams case, because they apparently drew up something that was ironclad and were able to move on rather quickly. So there you go with that. We'll see on Darian Mensah. Obviously Miami's going to keep fighting this, and they need to, they want to, they have to. In some cases, and same goes for Mensah. And if I'm Duke, I'm not backing down one iota, and I think every school in America not named Miami is saying, yeah, you better not back down. You better fight this and see where you can take it, because it's going to shed some sunlight on this whole thing and what works and what doesn't and all of that. So, it's an interesting story.
So you have Chambliss trying to get an extra year, but that's just if he gets the extra year, he plays at most likely Ole Miss. You have Human Milan trend are going to LSU, and there's a buyout on his contract. You have Mensah, and that might be something where there's a buyout on his contract or what he can or cannot do. And who knows, whatever we still have out there. And we thought that the Nico Iamaleava story was a big deal back just 7-8 or so months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I just picture Miami fans on the other side of this and how they would react. And it went just from a couple of days ago where I was like, you know what? I've kind of got a soft spot for Miami. This isn't the same Miami that you kind of grew up being conditioned to hate if you weren't a Miami fan. And now I'm kind of back to hating again. NIL will do that to you. No, I don't hate them, but it's just, of course, Miami's back involved in this silly business. And of course, they, of all the teams out there, they're not alone in trying to push the boundaries and get around certain things. But, man, they just seem to always be the one that's mentioned all the time when circumstances like this arise. So I think they'll have Darian Mensah as their quarterback next year, because that's typically how these things work out. But I hate that we are even having the conversation, because a guy who signed a contract or agreed to one just a couple weeks ago should not have been tampered with and gone into the portal and done all this jazz. But I'm also not trying to get into what's legal. What about coaches argument? I'm not trying to get into that. I'm just saying, as a fan of the sport, I don't like it. Not arguing whether it has merit or not, or whether it's right or wrong. I'm saying I don't like it, and I don't think that most people do like it. I think the only people that like it in this situation are Darian Mensah and Miami, the people that stand to benefit from it.
Yeah, and the question in the chat, by the way, is about, can any school just send Brandon Rowe into the transfer portal? No, the player has to request it. The school has to enter his name in the portal, and they have to. And that's just part of the deal. So a player can't just go online and go, hey, I'm in the portal.
Well, that's what's the ruling is today, is that Duke has to put him in the transfer portal.
Yeah,
they were not wanting to put him in the transfer portal.
And that's why I was explaining that for those who hadn't quite understood. You just can't go online like you would be to take classes online. You've got to have the school do that for you. So that keeps it from just becoming even more of a mess than it is. If you had a college football player from this year, you got the other note on USC? Go ahead and put that one out.
So there's been scuttlebutt about this, and I don't think it's quite official just yet, but it's looking like it's trending that way, and it could be official by later on, anytime, I guess, really. But it does look more and more like Lincoln Riley is going to be bringing Gary Patterson on board to become the next defensive coordinator for the USC Trojans, and that has been, like I said, out there for about a day or two now at this point that there was at least discussions, but just saw Matt Zenit circle back around, and I guess the T's aren't crossed and the I's aren't dotted just yet, but it sure seems to be going in that direction. So I guess nothing's official until it is, but it does appear as though Gary Patterson is going to be the new USC defensive coordinator after a little bit of time away from the game. So congrats, bestie.
Man, one, he's a hell of a defensive mind.
He is.
We're not always fans of some of things he's done, said, or whatever, but he's a hell of a defensive mind. He was at Texas after he was basically shoved out the door by TCU, went to Texas, helped them a little bit, then ended up at Baylor, helped them a little bit, and now he's actually going to be on staff, not just an analyst with USC.
Yeah. The only thing I worry about with this, I think he's one of the best defensive minds there is. He is second to none when it comes to defensive minds. The thing that undid him is that it's all the other things that live in that mind that come out of his talk hole that get him in trouble and that he worries about and he gets cagey about. So if he can focus on being a defensive coordinator calling plays, USC's.
But did that come up or pop up at Texas or Baylor?
Well, he was nowhere close to being a figure.
That doesn't mean he can't still be who he is.
If you're an analyst, though, that's chirping and making headlines, you're not an analyst for very long.
Yeah,
if you're a defensive coordinator, that's a lot different than being a guy whose whole job is to not be out front in your behind the scenes watching tape all the time. Like you saw him if you were at practice. He wasn't on the sidelines. He wasn't right next to Sark whispering in his ear. He's just an analyst. And so, yeah, that's a lot different than being a guy who's got like real substantial skin in the game.
I think he was on the sidelines at least at a few games, even though I think that's always
okay. My point stands.
And you guys went to dinner at some Mexican food restaurant.
No, but to my point was, before we got off track there a little bit.
That's never happened on the show.
Was that Lincoln Riley is also getting cagey about random weird things. And so I just don't know if putting another,
paranoid.
Like adding paranoia to it. Like if you've got a tinfoil hat on, the last thing your family wants is you to meet a friend with a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that.
That's just it's a minor.
Yeah,
concern.
I think you can kind of connect that a little bit. I don't know Gary Patterson as a defensive coordinator, what he's going to be like. He sure seemed to stay out of the way when he was at Texas and at Baylor. And yeah, if you were at practice, you saw him. He was pretty much out of the way there as well. He's off to the side or way deep behind the defense. And he was just kind of standing by his lonesome most of the time, taking notes. And now he'll obviously be far more involved. And we'll see how that works because sometimes former head coaches are great as coordinators. Sometimes they're not. I think just if he gets to focus on the defense, that's a really good hire for Lincoln Riley. But I can also see where, things are not going well, where you got two head coaching personalities that both like it their way, where that can be combustible. But I don't know the extent of their relationship, if there even was one prior to this. I do know that if you're just saying, hey, who's the best defensive coordinator we can go hire for USC right now, there's not a long list, if any list, above Gary Patterson. So from that standpoint, it's a good hire. Whether the chemistry there is not is something we'll find out over the next few months, but it does look like it's going to be a done deal. Unless just the roof collapses or something like that on contract negotiations. But pretty much anybody who's got some source is saying that, yeah, we're tracking towards Gary Patterson going to L.A.
Yeah, and I know, Paul, what you're saying about what he can be with Riley. He's a hell of defensively, USC needs some help. They need to replace their coordinator, and Gary Patterson's a really good defensive coach. He you know what? It's in his blood. It's like a lot of coaches. They just can't walk away. He's a hell of a coach. And if I needed a defensive coordinator and he was interested and available, I would absolutely contact him.
Well, here's the other thing. If I'm USC, I'm excited about this because if he can't fix the defense, then Lincoln Riley needs to get the hell on out of town.
Yep. That's a great point.
If he's not going to make the USC defense good to great or whatever, then I think you're looking at the end of the road as far as that relationship goes, because it's like, well, we've maxed out. Like if Gary Patterson can't come and fix this. So I think losing Lynn, you had to make an interesting hire, and I think you certainly did that by bringing him out of semi-retirement or whatever it was considered, and clearly the coaching itch was still there. That's why you're doing these analyst gigs, even though I'm sure they're lucrative for the amount of time in some cases, and somebody like him probably got paid pretty well to do them if he wanted to get paid well. You can tell that I don't think he was ever quite done coaching, and so it's not a surprise that he's back in a more.
He was still getting paid by TCU too. Hey. Remember the very first early start of analysts being hired? Bob Shipley, the high school coach, and a couple of guys, Jeff Traylor, they were getting like 50 to 100,000 for that.
And that was, I mean, for a high school coach, you're like, hell yeah, let's do that. But for Gary Patterson, it's not
way anymore. More. High school coaches are making 150, 200 in some cases.
In this state, not in every state. Yeah. You just said that, and there's a high school coach in Georgia or North Carolina watching this going, guess where I'm moving?
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't get to go out on his own accord at all. There was not and it made it worse that he gets fired by TCU, the program he built, and then the very next year they're in the national championship game. So it was very clearly time for him to go from that job. But if I'm Gary Patterson, I feel like, okay, well, maybe if that's true, that doesn't mean I don't know how to coach anymore. So he's taking this time, and best of luck to him at USC.
All right, so there we have with that. Now, Paul's top 5 is just around the corner. And then we have the quizzes. We have the poll results. We'll have the wheel spin too. Last night in the Big 12, everything pretty much went according to plan. The one game we talked about just for a second with Ari Temkin was that Texas Tech just berated Baylor, winning that game, hitting every 3 they basically shot. Hell of a game coming up with Houston just around the corner. This is 365 Sports. Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace off I-35, southern part of Waco. Ideal MRI with 2 things that you need. If you have something that is bothering you enough to where it's shutting you down, you can't sleep. I remember before I had rotator cuff surgery, literally it was like a thing of taffy in my right shoulder, behind my shoulder. It just was always hurting. And it's just in an area where I couldn't just like push down on it to make it feel any better, like a bad tooth. Finally got an MRI. Dr. David Haynes did the surgery. I've not had any problems with my right shoulder ever since. Now, there's some other things that I'm still working on. The MRI is $497, which is more than half than what the average is of $1,100 for an MRI around the country. And state-of-the-art imaging machine to get the evidence your doctor, he or she needs to then move on, whether it's some other therapy, physical, whatever, and or surgery. It's Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff at IdealMRI.com.
Big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5.
Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports. Best draws on the Big 12 schedule on paper right now. A lot has to happen, and it's really hard to predict college football right now. Hell, Indiana's the national champion, and nobody saw that coming at all. So I dove into the Big 12 schedule. I'm going to give you the best draws, and it's really tough to do in a 16-team conference, but I'll go through the best draws. Number 5, best draw, Oklahoma State, year 1 of Eric Morris. Outside of non-conference, they do have to host Oregon, which will be fun for the citizens of Stillwater until the game starts, more than likely. But I do think that could be a very interesting one. I think Oklahoma State's going to hit the ground running a little bit, and they've got a nice little roster coming there from North Texas. We'll just see how much they can hang with the Ducks. But non-conference, they have a road game at West Virginia. Non-conference over. Conference at West Virginia, at Houston, at Iowa State, at Kansas State, at Arizona State. The toughest team of that bunch is Arizona State, and they will have a new quarterback. So this kind of balances out. They host Texas Tech. Well, that's going to be a tough game, but at least it's at home, and all the rest of it seems to balance out to, all right, you can manage that schedule a little bit better, home and road. So it works out for them pretty well, especially considering the new coaches that are in the league. Now, going to Jack Trice Stadium, never easy, but first year of Jimmy Rogers, this would be the year I'd want to do it. I do think Jimmy Rogers is going to be good, but I do want to get somebody in year one if I'm going to get them on the road. Number 4, Utah. Arkansas is their marquee non-conference game, and that is at Rice-Eccles Stadium. They do have to go to Jack Trice, but that's their toughest road game, except for maybe TCU, and we'll see, and that's towards the end of the year. But they get West Virginia at home, they get BYU at home, Tech's not on the schedule, Arizona State's not on the schedule, Cincinnati has a new quarterback and they're in flux, Colorado's on the road, but who knows about them. It is a pretty good schedule. You get your rival at home. Yeah, this one might have been the number one now that I'm looking at it, but I will just say Utah's got a really nice draw this year. Orlando, rise up. You have a pretty fun little schedule here, at least for you. Now, you do go on the road to Pitt, which is going to be a hard game in week 2. But outside of that, you do have TCU at home. You go to Houston, at Oklahoma State. That could be tough. But BYU, the toughest game on the schedule, is at home. Baylor's at home. Iowa State's at home. Arizona State's at home. So you have some really good options there of, yes, these teams are good, but at least they're at home, and they are not traversing the country all that much. As a matter of fact, their longest road trip is at Colorado at the end of the year. So if I'm going to take a long road trip over to the western corner of the Big 12, then the last week is when I'd want to do it, right? So they actually have a pretty good little travel schedule overall, and don't really jump time zones all that much, or jump 2 time zones anytime but once. Number 2, and it's good to be in the top 2 of the league, BYU. They don't have a big non-conference game until the middle of the year where they host Notre Dame, and that will be tough. But that's in the non-conference, and obviously the Big 12 only has a part of scheduling that, but that is a home game still, even though that's going to be a tough one. But the toughest road game is at Utah, which is a rivalry game anyway. It's something they're used to. They host, Baylor, Cincinnati. They host Arizona State. They have to go to Orlando, but believe me, people in Utah love that trip, so it's not really going to be that big of a deal for them there, and they don't really bounce all over the place all that much. Toughest road trip, obviously, is to Utah. Second toughest, I guess, to TCU. And we'll see. I think TCU might be pretty decent this year, but that's their second toughest road trip, and I'll take that schedule. Maybe flip-flop them in Utah 2 and 4, but still pretty good draw. Number 1. Texas Tech. Joey McGuire smiling in this picture, as he is 97% of the time. The other 3% of the time, he's mad about a fumble or a bad call. But 97% of the time, he's smiling. Again, not a tough non-conference schedule. At Oregon State is the toughest one there for them, but new coach again for the Beavers. So all of that being considered, they have to go to Colorado. They host Arizona State. They go to Cincinnati. They host Arizona. They host West Virginia. They go to Oklahoma State. They go to Waco, a place they never have a problem winning for whatever reason. And then they host TCU. Pretty good draw. And look, they don't play all the Texas teams every single year, but this year, Houston, Baylor, TCU all play Tech, which I like. I think everybody in Texas likes that. So that's good news But they do have to go to Baylor and then host TCU the last 2 games of the year. Those 2 teams will probably be the angriest to play against Tech, I'm just guessing, all year long. And so those will be tough games no matter what, but they do, really don't go on the road and have a tough road game at all. We'll see what Oklahoma State is. We'll see what Baylor is. But right now on paper, this is by far the best schedule in the Big 12. Now, tomorrow we'll go through some of the rough ones. And believe me, there are some rough ones. When you throw in a Dublin trip, a London trip in week 3 for 2 teams, it's going to be wild. The carnival begins now.
All right, before we do that, one of John Valade, one of the owners of 365 Sports, sent this in a group text. A Jim Craig 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team gold medalist jersey hanging on the wall at his beautiful place just north of Waco. How about that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that John Valade owns that piece of sports memorabilia. The Valades are a hockey family, of a big-time hockey family. Andrew, who knows jiu-jitsu as well, is a state champion hockey player.
How many did you win, Andrew? 1 state title? Yeah, 1. My brother won 1. That's awesome. That's incredible. Well, thank you for sharing that, John. We appreciate that. 1980 miracle on ice with the win against Russia and then winning it all in the gold medal round. All right, Paul.
Okay. And away we go. What's one thing that could make parking easier at stadiums for the average fan? I would say cost.
Yeah, that'd be the first thing.
Cost is the biggest thing. Beyond that, I don't know how you can really make it all that easier because every venue is different. Then I'm sure there are some places where you got a bit of a trek, and there's some where it's pretty convenient. So I don't know. That's a case-by-case basis. That leaves really not much else you could do other than just lower the cost of parking, but we know that's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, part of it is just this is going to sound strange, is access to, instead of parking, access to public transportation in major cities. For example, in Dallas, they have this thing called the DART train. The DART train goes pretty much all over the greater DFW area, except for the place where all the stadiums are. You can't take it to Arlington, which would be nice, but the owners of those glorious sports franchises would like you to pay for parking and not just jump on the DART rail and get to Arlington. So that's a bit of a problem. I would say that's the thing you could do is nicer and better access to public transportation, which is not the same. Like in New York, you go to Yankee Stadium, you go to Shea or Citi Field. I'm sorry, I almost called it Shea, but you get off a subway and you walk right up to it. So parking's not really
MSG. It's
MSG,
like in the building.
Yeah, it's in the building. So those things need to be maybe more prevalent around.
I can't do it, Paul. Got to have my parking money.
Yeah.
Got to have my parking money, Paul. Can't give the people lesser or lower prices.
Yeah.
Got to gouge them like you gouge those oil fields, right, Jerry? And all the other owners out there.
Now, as a person who's never had to park for a game there, I had to buy parking for a Garth Brooks concert there, and that was a pain in the ass. But media parking for me has always been glorious, other than getting stuck in the mud one time on the grass lot. But, media parking is inside the inner circle. I can't give an act of AT&T Stadium of what it is to park there. And I haven't parked at the Ranger Stadium either, the new one. I know parking at the old one, the ballpark, it's hit or miss.
Yeah, I don't love the parking over at Baylor. I think you have them on the opposite side of the stadium. It's not a big deal. It's a small trek, but it's kind of awkward where you put the door opposite of the side of the stadium where you tell the people to park. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, but I know it's a room thing as well. You got to have the premium front row seats. You can't have media schlubs taking up all the prime parking spaces.
Yeah, because if you look at the number of cars inside of that gravel, dirt, and grass area that is the media parking, that's about 100 cars or so that might be parked in there.
Well, when they're winning games, it's about 100
it might
cars.
be 33 or 35.
It might be 3 or 4 like last year.
All right, here we go. The quizzes.
In 1926, Alabama quarterback Benjamin Russell Jr. created a garment to replace heavy wool football uniforms. Which everyday clothing item did he help invent? The hoodie, the sweatshirt, the mesh jersey, or the tank top? I'm going to go ahead and say the mesh jersey.
I miss those. As I played, when I played, that's what you had.
But
a lot
it's
of
still
times.
mesh. It's just not. It's not the same.
It's a tighter type mesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Craig, you want to say what you think?
I mean, did they have mesh in 1926? I guess that's my only question, but
Well,
I mean, it makes
could have been
sense.
invented then,
Huh?
It's just fabric, right?
Yeah, it's yeah. I didn't know how early on that was invented and created. So I'm fine going with that.
Yeah, I would say the mesh jersey, but it might be the sweatshirt because I don't know if the mesh jersey is an everyday.
Yeah, I didn't think they were rolling around in mesh in 1926, man. Like I just didn't think that was happening. But okay,
It is usually made mesh from polyester, nylon, or spandex.
Yeah.
Wonder when all that started.
So before 1930, football players wore scratchy wool jerseys that became heavy and uncomfortable when wet. Russell Jr. pitched the idea of an all-cotton practice shirt to his father, the founder of Russell Athletic.
Great company.
They even added a V-notch at the neck, specifically to soak up football sweat, a feature still found on many fashion sweatshirts today.
Brandon, give the camera on me for you. You want these? Your last couple of days, you've been a little.
No,
wobbly.
I'm good now. Yeah, I'm good. But yeah, those glasses were dirty, and
okay.
All right. I'm good. Like this is far enough away. No, I hate the fact that I have to wear readers. It is of all the things that have happened to me. I would honestly rather be 800 pounds than have to wear readers because you have to take them on and off. At least if I wore 800 pounds, I could just roll around in a cart and give up on life.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. I guess
it's so. I hate it so much. I hate it so. I got so mad at the lady when she told
great
me.
years when I had LASIK.
Hey, when she told me, she was like, "You need readers." I'm like, "You need readers."
Yeah,
I don't need readers. I'm young.
All right. In Back in the Future Part 2.
Back to the Future.
Same thing. Biff Tannen builds a. See what it's like to have to listen to you. Builds a massive empire after getting Gray's Sports Almanac from his future self, which sport gave him his first $1 million win.
Okay, Craig. I'm going to leave this to Smokey to see if he can guess what it is.
Okay.
Because I know what it is. I'm sure
pretty
you know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched.
I
didn't watch this. I watched the original back like a couple months ago, just randomly. And I started watching part 2 and just never finished it. But I recall what this answer is, yeah.
I'm going to say baseball.
You'd be wrong. It's horse racing.
All right. There we go.
I can't believe you never
I'm going to see you read this one.
Yeah. Biff Tannen's rise to power began on his 21st birthday in 1958 when a winning horse race bet made him an overnight millionaire. He turned his luck into a multi-million-dollar fortune, earning the nickname the luckiest man on earth, and turning Hill Valley into a dystopian wasteland by 1985. To restore the timeline, Marty travels back to 1955 to intercept the Sports Almanac before Biff can use it. It ultimately burning it and erasing it from his empire. Is Andrew's favorite movie.
Spoilers.
Yes. And Andrew, 2 is your favorite movie or the series is your favorite movie? Everything? Yes. Respect. Andrew.
I watched one of them, and the Sports Almanac used to be a huge gift that we gave away on Sports Talk Radio back in the 90s. They would send me a bunch of them. We'd have the guest on who did it. And I love that. That's not even necessary anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That Back to the Future 2 is the one with the most like kind of confusing plot holes, but still really good movie. That an old man who'd never driven a DeLorean before, well, maybe he had. I don't know. They figured out a time machine. Anyway, and stole a Sports Almanac and went back in time and gave it to his younger self. But it was hilarious and great. And the Back to the Future trilogy is one of the best ever. Should college football retire the term blue blood? Yes, it's irrelevant now. 55%. No history matters at 28%, which I feel like we're missing some.
Yeah, we're missing an option
17% is or 80. Yeah, 17% missing. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Andrew, by the way, I am offended, absolutely offended about using the Nebraska helmet as a blue blood who might not be and hasn't been for 30 years as the icon or image next to no history matters. We're done.
I'm sure that was unintentional.
No, it was
completely random.
Yeah, no, Yeah. But no, I think it still can be used. It doesn't hurt anything to say it, right? I don't know.
I'm fine with it being used. I think it's still relevant to speak of just the programs who have had the most success. I don't think that it should be just slapped on any team who's had a couple titles and wants to act like they are Alabama. We see far too much of that going on here lately. We also see teams that are bolstering their profile by adding titles 75 years after the fact because it was in the almanac that they stole in Back to the Future 2 or some BS. But I'm fine with the term. I just don't think that it has the untouchable mystique of like, well, they're a blue blood. They can't lower themselves or resort to or whatever. It's like, no, that part of it's been destroyed. So yeah, you're not bulletproof or untouchable if you're a blue blood. And I think that's what we've seen with the Indiana win. But it does give you, just having that history, a lot of cash to work with and to wait to kind of throw around.
But by the way, I have another Back to the Future 2 little nugget. There was one sports tidbit that they did predict correctly for 2015 when the movie came out in 1988. Do you know what that was, Smokey?
2015?
Yeah.
No,
they got it right. I mean, it was a random thing in the movie, but the Cubs won. They predicted the Cubs would win the World Series.
Yeah.
And in Back to the Future 2, they have a thing that says Cubs win World Series.
I think it's better when the Cubs and Red Sox haven't still won a World Series. It was a lot of fun to watch that every year.
No, it was not. Could Indiana repeat as national champions in 2027? Yes, Signetti is him at 49%, top 10, but no title at 33. One-hit wonder team, 14%. Little haters out there, number at 4%. Big Ten is too tough.
Well, the Big Ten is too tough. Wasn't tough this year to prevent them, and didn't really get too much in their way last year either. So I get if you're saying that, like, oh, well, no, Oregon and Ohio State and Michigan will all be better maybe. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely not too tough for them. They're also not a one-hit wonder because it's been 2 years of playoff football now at this point. So I don't think that's a one-off. That's a two-off, if anything. And I think I would go with top 10, mostly if this was like, what do you think Indiana does next year? Most likely, I think it would be top 10. But could they is the question. So could they repeat as champions? Yeah, they could absolutely repeat as champions next year. If Josh Hoover's great, then I can see where he's different, but as good as Mendoza. So, yeah, could they? Yes, they can.
Yeah, I do think he is him. I do. I don't think this is short term. And I'd love to see them make another run next year. All right. So those are the poll results, the quizzes, the wheel, and also so much more. We're going to take a short break right here. We're going to come back with 365 Sports Overtime. I'm going to open up the chat, questions, opinions about college football. And you want to give me an answer on the question we just had, we'll start with that as well. And it's a show that we just kind of want to see how it goes. That's next, 365 Sports Overtime on 365 Sports YouTube.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Cars priced right, both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Frazier added more numbers, more yards to those. Oh, they don't have them yet. Look at Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Touchdown.
This is 365 Sports Overtime with David Smoak, and it's your time to be heard. Ask questions, voice an opinion. A few extra minutes with Smokey It right now.
All right. Mendoza's right on the mark for a touchdown. Omar Cooper Jr.
365 Sports Overtime is sponsored by
Richard Car Motors, QC Kinetics, Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, and North Star Funding Partners.
Now here's David Smoak.
All right, here we go. This 365 Sports Overtime. I have the one audio file that will play today on Indiana winning the national championship on Monday. But we saw this. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, but there's all sorts of different businesses that are online betting, whatever, on the Heisman Trophy favorites. Here's a question to start off today. Just a simple question. I just put up the names in the chat. There are many names that are going to be in a list of favorites to win the Heisman. Now, the favorite at the top is Arch Manning. And then you have C.J. Carr, Notre Dame, Dante Moore from Oregon, Jeremiah Smith, the receiver from Ohio State, and his quarterback, Julian Sayin. Those are just 5 names. There are many other names that would be a part of that. And by the way, that could change quickly if Trinidad Chambliss, in fact, gets an extra year to play at Ole Miss. Does it change Darian Mensah if he's at Miami rather than he won't be a Duke? So here's my question to you. Just type in the answer. Of those 5 names, Manning, C.J. Carr, Dante Moore, Jeremiah Smith, and Julian Sayin, which 2 will not be invited to the Heisman Trophy presentation in New York next December? All 5 might not be. Probably will, but I mean, all like Arch last year, remember, started the year as one of the Heisman favorites. He wasn't there. But Arch, Carr, Dante Moore, Jeremiah Smith, or Julian Sayin, give me 2 of those 5 names that will not be invited. Doesn't mean they'll win it or not, but it doesn't mean you can be invited to win it, but who will not be invited. It might be all 5, might be 3, 4, whatever. And Paxton right off the top, C.J. Carr and Jeremiah Smith. John Peterson, nope, that's not it. Retired stockbroker, Carr and Sayin. General Ursus, Dante Moore and C.J. Carr. Fongwei Reldman, C.J. Carr and Jeremiah Smith. Dante Moore and Julian Sayin, what Kim says. So I'll keep reading these for a little bit. Fight on Natties, Arch, and Manning. There you go. He was, remember, and it was way, way more hype than anything else. The name, the school he was playing for, which was going to be a part of the mix for the national championship, that didn't work out. Arch had some tough starts, and yet he turned out at the end. He was rolling with UT. Let me see here. From Bracket Cat, I have no opinion. Sorry. And yeah, that's it. Okay, gave me a pretty good look at him. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this quick enough in your head, because I don't know if I could. Of the 5 I put out there, take them out of the mix. Give me somebody that's not listed that you think will win the Heisman Trophy. Again, Trinidad Chambliss right now is a no-go because we don't know if he's going to play or not. Outside of those 5 that are the favorites right now to win the Heisman Trophy, at least for now, give me a name that's not a part of that 5 that you think will win the Heisman Trophy if it's not one of them. So give me that on the chat room, if you will. And here's how we do this show. Brandon Rowe staying late for me. Andrew Valade's always here. He ends up locking the doors every night after he puts so much stuff. And by the way, the Doug McNamee, is that now starting to get up, Andrew, as far as our interview with Baylor AD Doug McNamee? But Brandon's here. Here's what I want, and I want this to happen, or we will not do this. This is kind of hoping to like a branch to you. And some of you have said you wanted this. And I don't at all. I mean, this is good. I can sit here. I used to do a 3-hour talk show by myself for 30 years, so it's not that big a deal to do 15 or 20, 30 minutes. And it's also a chance, if there's something big and we don't get a chance to get to it enough, then we could add on to this. But here's what I want you to do. It's very simple. And it could be you do this tonight. You could send this tomorrow. You could send it on Friday morning or even early in the afternoon on Friday. This is simple. Now, some of you are technologically challenged. I would know that because there are times when, again, my young homies here make fun of me because I can't work a Mac. But here's the deal. Take your phone. Find the audio file app. Brandon, am I right? Find the audio file app. Now, if you have an iPhone, I go to mine. I do, like, if I go to high schools during the week to discuss games coming up for either a broadcast that I'm going to do or we're going to do, or just an interview that I'm going to put in the high school football podcast, you go to your phone, I go to the audio file,
well,
you click on.
It's called voice memos.
Okay, voice memos. You click the red button and it starts rolling, right, Brandon?
That is correct.
And I've done interviews with coaches. I've done interviews in locker rooms with players. I've done interviews at Big 12 Media Days, if we get a guy off to the side, but he's not available when we're at the table doing interviews. At the Super Bowl coverage, Radio Row, coming up the first week in February, I'll have my cell phone, and I can get somebody off to the side, whether it's Barry Sanders or whoever, if that's the only time. I remember one time walking around Radio Row with Joe Gibbs, who, I mean, you talk about my dad, and then Tom Osborne and Joe Gibbs. Those are like 1, 2, and 3, and that's the order. I don't know if and I walked around Radio Row as he was walking out the door because he was out of, and I did 5 or 6 minutes with Joe Gibbs in my phone. I've got a voicemail with Tom Osborne, who called. This has been a couple of years ago when I asked him to be a part of the show to tell me what time he was available. It's that simple. Pick up your phone, go to voice memos if it's an iPhone. I don't know what it's called if you use something else, and click it, start recording. Hey, this is Bill in Hampshire Fredette down in the Golden Triangle, or this is Brandon in Oklahoma City. Whoever it might be, whoever you are, your name, where you're from, you could even just say the city or state or both, and then say, Smokey. You don't have to say my name. Ask a question. Ask a question. Make a comment. Give an opinion, and we'll play it on the show if we get it in time to be able to grab it and get it loaded up, and we'll play it on the show. Here's one, for example. Let me see. Before we do this. Here's the Heisman Trophy question. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was gonna say on Android, I think it's just called like voice recorder.
Okay.
Not voice memo.
Okay.
But
it's
anything
simple.
that you can just send like an audio file.
Yeah. So you record it, you save it, you stop it, you save it, you send it, share to an email address. I'm going to put the email address up on the site. I'm going to put it in the chat again. And eventually I'm going to do one. This is mine, but eventually we're going to do one that's just easy to remember, like 365 Sports at whatever.
There's one at the bottom of your screen.
Is
in
there
the
really?
Lower third, overtime 365 sports at gmail.com.
I don't see that. On the screen, on the camera?
Yeah, like I put it as a lower third.
Okay, say it again.
Overtime 365 sports at gmail.com.
All right, overtime 365 sports at gmail.com. That's the one you could do as well. Send the audio file. It'll come to my inbox. I will send it to Brandon. He will grab it, and we'll play those on the show. So we're not going to have another one after today. We'll have Friday. So you can even do that like, oh, damn, I need that. Or maybe it's a current story. So let's go back, first of all, before we play one of the audio files. I asked the question of the 5 names, Manning, Carr, Dante Moore, Jeremiah Smith, and Julian Sayin. Give me 2 of those 5 names that will not be in New York when they present the Heisman Trophy next year. Got some great responses from you. Now, forget about those 5. Give me 1 name that's not a part of those 5 that will win the Heisman, in your opinion, will win the Heisman Trophy you think is the favorite outside of them to win the Heisman Trophy. Mayava from Fight On, USC fan from USC. Hoover, Josh Hoover, who will be at Indiana, the TCU quarterback. Paxton, Marcel Reed, the A&M quarterback, who flamed out at the end. Sam Levitt from General Ursus, of course, he'll be at LSU. And then let's see here. Retired stockbroker Connor Wigman from Houston. Mentioned DJ Lagway. I don't know how we could put that up yet. We don't really know. But, okay, DJ Lagway from Bracket Cat. He won't win it, but Avery Johnson finally has a great season. I can see him being invited to New York. Wigman from Kim Coulter. Let's see. Sorsby is an answer from, I thought I saw Sorsby. From Bobby B. Let's see here. By the way, Fight On. Didn't Avery transfer? No, he's locked in to stay at K-State. Let me see here. That's about it. I think those are most of that's good. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. By the way, for those of you who go, well, why would you just keep doing the show? Like I said, for 30 years, I did talk radio solo, and I did it for 3 hours. And it's, this is kind of what I do. This is part of my DNA. And I want to hear from you. This is why we're doing the extended segment. Now, Brandon is newly married, and there is a clock ticking, not only in our head on when I have to make sure he gets out the door, but somebody else's head too, Brandon, because you'll start getting your text messages getting blown up, right?
Yeah. I'm the cook at home, so if I'm not home, then
wait, are you saying your wife doesn't cook?
No, she'll cook, and she's pretty good too. But I enjoy cooking, so I
do too, man.
Take it over.
I do too. Like I love cooking Cajun food, jambalaya, gumbo. Did that over the weekend at Jennifer and Daniel's, and Gracie Lynn, the granddaughter, made a nice batch. Let them have some. Craig got some, and I got some. I love doing that. And then again, it could be as simple as a steak or whatever you might want to. What are you cooking tonight, Brandon?
I'm not sure. Last night I made chicken fried rice. But
I ordered that actually on DoorDash. I absolutely did.
Should have brought you some. I made a lot.
Pork pot stickers. Paxton, I'd say 2 or 3 times a week in the chat room will go, hey, I'm having meatloaf, or he does some fancy stuff too. And he'll even text me, and I've shared pictures with those of you when I cook something pretty good. So let's see here. Retired voice recorder on Android. Yeah, that was from Fongway to letting everybody else know. Here's also Kim Coulter. Y'all want listener interaction, so you some bitches get off your butts and get with it. I think there's some people with 365 Sports that don't know if this will make it. Really? I hope it does. I want to do this. We'll start Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we want to do it every day. Now, Brandon doesn't, nor his wife, but there's ways we could eventually do this. I wish there was a way so Brandon can go home and make sure his house is happy, where I could do it and enter stuff into my own laptop or doing the show. So let's do it. So this is from Kim Coulter. He sent it. No, we got to scold him. Timeout corner. I said on Monday when we did the first one of these that we would do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, again, I want to do this every night with exception or 2 or whatever. Every night. Kim sent me a voice file, an audio file, following Monday's game with Indiana winning the national championship. It says last night in this audio file, but it's still current in a way. And here's Kim Coulter.
Hey, Smoak, this is Kim in Arizona. With Indiana's win last night, that tells me any Big 12 champ can win a natty given the equal or better talent on some rosters. That might even include Nebraska. But the real question that follows that supposition is, do any of us in the Big 12 currently have a coach that makes the difference like Signetti did? I'll hang up and listen.
Hang up and listen. Thank you, Reckham. Kim, thank you. Good question. And he said Indiana last night because he thought we were going to run this on Tuesday. But who are the 16 of the 16 coaches currently right now, no matter how much you have added to your depth or talent or transfer portal, incoming high school, or what you have returning? Here's a question I want to answer in the chat. You could answer this for me, and I want to hear it from you. There are 16 teams in the Big 12. How many of those 16 teams, in your opinion, if given enough of like what you need, are in that mode like a Cignetti, who's right now just as high as anyone could be when it comes to the pecking order. What he's done is just stupid insane. Incredible. I'm so happy for him. And Indiana fans and college football. How many of the 16 programs in the Big 12 in football have a head coach capable? Maybe in 5 years, no. Capable in 26 to do that. I'll wait. In 26, how many of those 16 coaches are capable of running? It doesn't have to be 16-0. It could be to win it at 13-3, but to get through it. And right now it's a 12-team playoff. We don't know by the end of the week, is it going to stay there or is it going to go to some other number? And I am on record is I want 12 to stay there. For so many years, teams that had great seasons and then they lost in the national championship game, or there was no, until 90, whatever it was, where there was only one champion, the BCS. I didn't mind. I didn't mind if one year it was USC and Alabama that were, one was the AP national champion and the other year was the UPI. Back then it was the UPI coaches poll. That never bothered. They didn't lose any sleep. And if I had a team that won a national title and they won half of it, hey, Paxton, and we had a lot of UT fans. 1970, UT won a national title. So did Nebraska, because of the way that it was set up of whether or not the poll counted after bowl games. Some you didn't. I forgot which one it was, but you could be number one at the end of the regular season. Of course, there were no conference championship games. And then you could lose in your bowl game, but if you were, I don't know if it was AP or UPI, you were the national champion, even if you lost your bowl game. Now, that people, we can't even fathom that right now. All right, let's see what we got here. Paxton said there are 4 of the 16 coaches. Paxton, list them. John Peterson, Willie Fritz, no doubt. Now, again, that's if you have what you need to be really competitive. Some might be close. Some might have a lot of work to do. And there might be a coach that no matter what you have available, it's not going to happen. Let's see here. Roger Dodger, Kalani Sitake. Let's see here. Bracket Cat, Kenny Dillingham has proven he can do SIG-level coaching. For Roger Dodger, it's impossible to do a Cignetti. Never seen a bad program to Natty. No, I'm not saying, well, I mean, maybe there's going to be another Cinderella, which is no longer what Indiana is. They're the alpha. If you have what you need, and you have what you need from the portal or returning or even high school, maybe a star or two that can come in and be a Malachi Tony or so, who can do that? But you're right, Roger. No one, the Cignetti thing, it's over. It's in the dictionary. It's in the Louvre. It's done. No one can do that again. Absolutely Fritz, according to Bracket Cat, but definitely not Prime. Kim Coulter, Joey has already done it. Who is next? Sitake, Klein, Willie Fritz? Joey took Texas Tech to the college football playoff. I'm talking about capable of winning it, because that was your question. Winning it. Can Joey win it? He took him, though, when a lot of people questioned even what they were doing when they were adding weapons and depth and players and leaders and what they did. When a lot of people scoffed at it. They did it. But win it. But you can't win it if you don't get there, and Tech did get into the 12. Let me see here. USC beat Bama that year. Bama is a joke. That's from Roger. Tough question. Yowzer from Fongway. Let's see. Paxton, Willie Fritz, Kalani Sitake, Kenny Dillingham, and Joey McGuire. From Fight On, the new guy, Scally at Utah. Kim Coulter, Colin Klein, I think so. Joey before anyone from Retired Stockbroker. I would say maybe the OSU coach, Eric Morris, who will join us in early February. Don't really know all of his history, though, and stuff. I think Georgia Tech's coach can do it. Now, General, I'm talking Big 12, but no, I'll take that one. Man, I love the guy. I love watching Georgia Tech. I just, that's a great story, too. didn't get overshadowed because of Indiana, because I think a lot of people really enjoyed the story with Georgia Tech or what Vanderbilt's done with Clark Lee. It's a great story, too. It's a great story, too. So thank you to General Ursus and others. Let me see. Brent Key, Kim Coulter, yep, at Georgia Tech. I don't know if he's at that dinner tonight in Tyler for Haynes King. I don't know if he is. I know, like what Craig had said, there's a lot of family there, an unbelievably popular player. That will be a very popular dinner tonight. Here's how that award started back in 2014 when Bryce Petty won it. Or 13, excuse me. It was 13. So they would have, I'm a voter. Craig puts all of the information every week as we vote each week for the Earl Campbell, Tyler Rose, like Bolitnikoff does or whoever. So then you get to the end and you have the list of that could be 50 down to 15. And then you have, I think it's eventually you have 3, 4, 5 finalists or whatever it is. And they have a dinner and they would invite the finalist. Well, opting out of bowl games, longer season, agents. There could be someone that was amazing. What's Ashton Genty at Boise State was a finalist one year, and then he was a finalist last year. And I think he won it last year, but his agent wouldn't cooperate enough because of his schedule. And I don't care what they have coming up. There's no reason, especially when they will pay for your flight and your one-night stay at a hotel, to not be able to be there if you're from Texas and you're honored by Earl Campbell. That's me. But they just don't give a damn about that award. They should, or about they're trying to get their guy to Orlando or to whoever else so we can work out and get ready for the combine. It would not hurt for a half a day, especially if they went there to have a chance to meet Earl Campbell. So Haynes King tonight in Tyler is going to be just special. But Brent Key, I love it. I still think Clark Lee and Brent Key in a what do you call it? What do you call that match? Cage match. Let me see. Yeah, Big 12 is what I wanted. But no, that's fine to mention another coach outside of the conference. How many coaches do you think, in your opinion, from the Big 12? This is if you gave everybody an equal platter, if you ordered off the menu and everybody that's in the conference had at least a little bit of oomph to be able to get to the college football playoff. Which of them would you trust could, once they get there, maybe win it all? It's a great question. I don't even know why. I'm the one that asked it. No. Kalani Sitake, Joey McGuire. And someone mentioned on Joey, but he got him there. You got to get there first to be able to have a chance to win it. He's not like a veteran, like a Whittingham would have been, or et cetera, but he got him there. How much does he learn? Joey McGuire won state championships in high school. I get it. It's still winning. I do think Kenny Dillingham, he experienced that, did not do it. They couldn't finish against Arizona State. I do think Willie Fritz, given equal amounts of what you need to get into the playoff, there's a lot of them that are still up in the air. Aranda, obviously, the 21 team was fantastic, really good, finished 5th in the country, but, I mean, I don't want to miss anybody. With the changes at Iowa State and Kansas State, that's to be determined. I love Lance Leipold, but it wouldn't be Rodriguez. It would not be Satterfield. It would not be Scott Frost, and I may be missing. Sonny Dykes, he took him. So you'd have to at least bring him up, right? And am I missing anybody else from the Big 12? I don't. Utah, Scally, BYU. Brennan, no. I think I listed at least 3 or 4 of those coaches. Retired stockbroker, Joey or Sitake. A lot of unknowns with the new guys. Yeah, Brackett Cat, you're right, because we don't know enough. We know who they are at K-State with Colin Klein and with what Iowa State has with Rodgers, but we need to see maybe some rings around the tree, right, as far as the age of a tree. Fritz has proven it on 2 other levels. No question, John Peterson. That's why I brought him up too. All right. I appreciate you, Smokey from Dave Aranda. Scott Frost, no. He had that unbeaten team, but no. We got to see again. Let's see what happens here. Iowa State will have to struggle this season and don't understand the love for Utah. I didn't mention Scally. I mentioned his name, but I didn't mention that a part of this conversation. All right, last thing. We SC have just hired Gary Patterson. Fight on, Natties. We mentioned that on the show. And he is brilliant when it comes to being a defensive mind. No question about it. All right, you know the drill. We're doing this Friday after the show's over. We're doing this because we want to bring in a little bit of that more feedback from you and not just occasionally reading something in the chat. You can email overtime365sports@gmail.com. Get your phone out. Say something. Ask a question. Give an opinion. We react to it. And so does everybody else in the chat. Andrew Valet, thank you. Obviously, Brandon Rowe, thank you. Enjoy your dinner and whatever you cook tonight. Thanks to our great sponsors. We appreciate it. Let's make this work. We have to. I want to. It's up to you, though. And it's up to me to make sure we bring you something that you want to watch and be a part of. 365 Sports. Have a great night.